Right, I was trying to get you to go to bed with her.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, September 13th, 2015. Time once again for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 756.
This is No Agenda.
Scanning for signs of Shemitah and broadcasting live from FEMA Region 6 in the capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the, looks like not boxcars, but some sort of rail cars are stacking up. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
It's like soybean gondolas or something.
Bad sign. Gondolas?
Yeah, gondolas.
Gondolas?
A gondola.
Oh, man.
Ebola.
Yeah, Ebola. Hey. Man, I don't know what happened, but I somehow just clips kept pooping out of my butt last night.
Well, that stinks.
I got so many. There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Well, I think before we go anywhere, we do have to play. I had the clip of the 6-week cycle event.
Yeah, I have a couple of those. What you got to start off with?
Well, I just have the one. It's just it's the overview. Where is it? It's getting the show off to a rousing start.
Hey, back to the gondolas.
Here it is. Terrorism Week, 6-week cycle.
There we go.
We begin with breaking news. On this eve of another September 11th, federal officials say they've broken up a plot for a terror attack.
No!
A 9/11 memorial event in Kansas City. Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues has the latest on the arrest of a Florida man and what he was allegedly planning. Jeff?
Jim, investigators say the target was an annual event called the Kansas City Stair Climb, which was set to take place on Sunday and was in honor of the 9/11 attacks. According to investigators, 20-year-old Josh Ryan Goldberg was online recruiting people to carry out attacks. He had been under surveillance for weeks and was unaware that he was actually talking to an informant. According to court papers, in one monitored conversation, Goldberg told the informant to build a pressure cooker bomb, much like the ones used in the Boston Marathon bombing. And he instructed the informant to, quote, put as much sharp stuff as you can in there. The two discussed targets, but a bomb was never built. Law enforcement initially thought that Goldberg was in Australia, and he was also on the radar of Australian police. But, Jim, it turns out Goldberg was in a town near Jacksonville, Florida.
Jeff Pegues in our Washington News.
The thing that I like so much is the obvious, I find it a little, it creates some friction when you have a Jew being a jihadist.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Mueller, who knew how to do this.
Robert Mueller.
Yeah, Robert Mueller, the old head of the FBI, who extended his stay beyond legal limits.
Yeah, well, he was requested to stay.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was not his idea at all. And he must have had a PR person or some marketing people or somebody working with that he took with him when he left. Because these guys don't know what they're doing. The Goldberg thing alone is idiotic. They don't get it.
I have a copy of the affidavit. I love pulling those to see what exactly went down. Would you like to hear a couple choice pieces from this?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
All right. So this is criminal complaint. And this is, let's see. The main complaint is a violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 842P, as in Papa, which is described as distribution of information relating to explosives, destructive devices, and weapons of mass destruction. I didn't know that this was illegal, to disseminate information relating to explosive, destructive devices, and weapons of mass destruction. And I had to go look it up because that sounded a little too broad for me. It is, P here, it is only if the intent is to destroy something or to, as an act of terror. But it doesn't even say that in the affidavit. And so here's what the special agent of the FBI has to say in the affidavit. I've investigated and assisted in the investigation of criminal matters involving explosives and other weapons of mass destruction, including the distribution of information related to explosives, et cetera, et cetera. Goldberg distributed information pertaining to the manufacturing of explosive, destructive devices or weapons of mass destruction, which you and I know is pretty much a cherry bomb. That's a weapon of mass destruction, according to the legal definition. In furtherance of an activity that constitutes a federal crime of violence by sending a person 5, count them, 5 website links for websites that provided instructions that could be utilized.
It's a violation of said website
Yes,
link.
sir. 5 website links that provided instructions that could be utilized to construct or make explosives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. See, it's interesting in point 4 of his affidavit, he says, I have not included each and every fact known to me concerning this investigation. I have set forth only the facts which I believe are necessary to establish probable cause. Yeah, that means you could be leaving some pertinent pieces out. For instance, you honeypotted this stupid kid. This moron, 20-year-old moron living with his parents.
Is he living with his parents in Jacksonville, Florida?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so there's a transcript.
They didn't mention that on NBC News.
Oh, really? But there's a whole bunch of transcripts. Let me see what we have here. So the kid had tweeted something, and they immediately got the IP address from Twitter. Of course, Twitter will hand that over to them, so they have all that information. They know what email address is associated with it. And then they start a conversation. So Oz Witness, that's our Goldberg, is talking about his so-called friend in Australia. He thinks he's going to be caught attempting some kind of jihadist attack. And then we have the informant, known as CHS, which is, they reached out to him and they just made him respond. And the things that they're saying is, let's see, sounds like you're trying to do some planning, Australia. I'm trying to do the same here. I have to get some sleep now. Classes start again tomorrow, but let's talk about this tomorrow night. And then he comes back the next day. The UK is one of many countries that really deserve it. We were supposed to have a few ops here on July 4th that didn't happen. It was so disappointing. And they go back and forth, and the informant, it's really crazy. Wait, so here's they're back on August 19th. Hey, sounds good. What do you have in mind? Do you have bombs already? Because the informant has said, yeah, we're going to plan an attack. And then he says, I don't have any bombs. I don't know how to make them. I wonder. And it goes on. All right, I'll send you some bomb-making guides on Twitter soon. And that's really the violation here, is he sent him 5 links, and he got, rolled up into a conversation where he's trying to help this so-called jihadist figure out how to make a bomb in the kitchen of my mom. It's not, it's 5 website links. That's really the crux.
He is in the kitchen of his mom. At least they got that part right.
He took it to heart, didn't he? He took it to heart. I like that. I do have something here from they interviewed a retired FBI agent.
Well, unfortunately, I know that for many years now, the ability to build bombs is right there on the internet. So especially when you're active on these internet sites that spew out this kind of hatred and encourage that activity, it's very easy to find that kind of information. Very troubling and very disturbing, but I know it's been out there for a long time.
You hear about this, and it was a targeting event right here in Kansas City. How close do you think it actually came to fruition?
I don't think this came very close to fruition. The reason Kansas City was brought in is because the informant himself mentioned he's here in Kansas City, which is why the subject said that. But he did that most likely at the direction of the FBI, who was in total control of this operation.
Yeah, they're not in total control. They created the whole operation.
And they do it in such a way to...
What? Yeah, the FBI is in total control. So why don't they arrest these guys from the FBI and throw them in the slammer? They're causing trouble.
Or why don't they go up to this kid's house and say, hi,
Yeah, well, that would be policing. We don't police anymore. It's a military state.
Oh. But I would recommend going up. He's living with his parents, which for some reason they couldn't figure. They thought he was in Jacksonville, and they couldn't figure it out for the longest time.
Oh, no, I thought it was in Australia.
I'm sorry, Australia, yes. And then they figured out that he was in Florida. Yeah. But just go up to the kids and say, hey, listen. And I saw a piece of video of his parents. They seem like really reasonable people.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Hey, your kid is
just a kind of a dullard.
Your kid is doing some stupid shit. Hold on, I have the Australian report, which may give us a little different perspective. Wait, first let's finish the FBI guy.
Keep the subject engaged so he doesn't go elsewhere looking for someone else.
Now, you see that? So their justification of this is first they create the whole story. Hey, I want to blow something up. Can you help me out? And then they keep him engaged so he doesn't go somewhere else. They created this terrorist.
For this operation. And they do it in such a way to keep the subject engaged so he doesn't go elsewhere looking for someone else that we may not know about. And from everything I read, it appeared law enforcement did a very good job. Keeping this under their control.
An overall reaction to everything that we've learned this evening?
Good work.
Troubling that we have people out there willing to do this. Good news is law enforcement is really doing the job, and they're out there proactively stopping these things before they happen.
Proactively creating it and then stopping it. Hey, now, Australian report.
An American Jewish man living with his parents in Florida has been arrested and accused of plotting a bomb attack at a 9/11 memorial event in Kansas this weekend. Joshua Goldberg had been posing online as an ISIS jihadist living in Perth and using the Twitter name Australi Witness. The account has now been disabled. 20-year-old Goldberg was arrested after being in contact with someone online between July and September who was actually a police informant. Goldberg allegedly provided the person information on how to construct a pressure cooker bomb and fill it with nails, other shrapnel, and to dip it in rat poison. Woo! He then directed the person online to carry...
Yeah, didn't you hear about the rat poison part?
No, I missed that somehow.
Yeah. Would that kill you?
No, probably not.
Out a bombing in Kansas City at an event commemorating the September 11 attacks. Recently, Goldberg has been posting on social media as Australi Witness, saying he's planning attacks in both Australia and the US, and he shared this image of what looks like a pressure cooker bomb. If convicted, Goldberg faces 20 years in prison.
For links. For sending links.
His parents have told US media that they are shocked but have declined to say any more at this stage.
Shocked, I tell you. Yeah. Now, this is early for the 6-week cycle. They just getting a jump, or what's going on?
Well, the 6-week cycle technically is on the 15th.
Yeah, so this is a little early.
Not that early, because if you've noticed over the last 6 months that there's been a scattering of events around the point, the nexus point, which would be the 15th.
Right. Anyway, this is bullcrap of the highest order. And I can't even believe that people... Can't someone just say, wow, let's just say it's all true. Wow, now Jewish kids are joining the jihad? Can we not talk about this?
I mean, they blew it with the Jewish kid.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah. I just don't understand.
It's kind of like it's off script. It's so far off script. I'm surprised that the guy who wrote up the whatever that paper is that you read.
The affidavit. It's an official court document.
I'm surprised that guy hasn't been called to the carpet.
Well, he may be.
It's okay, we're going to we'll go along with this, but look at Wilson. We can't have this anymore. We got a script here to follow, and you didn't follow it. You didn't even come close.
This is when you have jihadi Jews. You know what this is. You know what this is. Shape-shifting Jews. They are fantastic. The shape-shifting Jews turn into jihadis. The magical shape-shifting Jews. Those guys are good. It's an illustration.
So there's this is kind of falls in line with that. This crazy story. About, in fact, here's the clip that kind of, unless you got more on this, I think we're...
No, I'm pretty much done with
it's a joke of a story.
To us it is. I don't see anyone, and no one else is laughing. Everyone's very afraid.
Oh, they're afraid of the Jewish kid living at home with his parents in Jacksonville, Florida.
Sending dangerous links.
A scourge, and he sends links out. Probably his only friend was that spy that kids at the press. He'll be happy to be 20 years in jail. Okay. If the judge doesn't throw stuff like this out, talk about entrapment. So. Jeez, not even close. Yeah. How about more on fixed intelligence regarding ISIS?
Ooh, very nice.
Pick a target to be nominated to go kill it or degrade it. It's being deleted from the targeting package, and we're not attacking the hard targets we should be going after. This is all a travesty.
So some of them have come out and blown the whistle. I mean, that's how seriously they're taking this. And some have gone on to say that now they feel they cannot even give a candid assessment because they know what's going to happen to their assessment. So what happens? I mean, does this get reversed? Who is it who's manipulating the analyst conclusions?
Well, this actually started under Major General Scott Berrier apparently, according to my sources. This went on, is currently going on with Steve Grove, the current J2. These are two-star generals. And then also the civilian senior guy, Greg Reichman, name keeps coming up. What happens is you have people literally working all the time, trying to pick out their information. It gets up to the senior level and gets manipulated, gets changed. Wow. So that's what we're faced with right now.
Colonel Schaefer, thank you.
I like the term targeting package. That's kind of cool.
I like targeting package. Yeah. I have maybe a show title.
I have Mike Morell, former director of.
Okay, we know
CIA.
Mike is a complete stooge, so let's listen to what he has to say. Now, let's back up. You probably didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. You missed a little bit of
set it up enough.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is about. There's apparently a scandal going on for people that aren't keeping up, or they use us as news. There's a scandal going on where analysts, mostly I think military spies, analysts, are coming up with targeting packages and other intelligence that they gather, and then they send it up the stream, and then the guys who run the agency, which they never mentioned the agencies, probably DIA, I'm guessing, but whoever it is, the guys at the top change it.
Sex it up. They sex it up.
They say, well, we're doing very well against the battle on ISIS, but I think one of the things that's going on is that they are I think what's going on is that these analysts are coming up with data that needs to be acted on, and the guys up top say, no, we're blowing up our own people if we do that.
Here's Mike Morell, director of CIA, who thinks some heads should roll.
So these are analysts at the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, which is actually conducting our operations in Iraq and Syria. One of the central tenets, one of the key aspects of the policy-making process in the United States is that analysts get to say what they think without any interference, without anybody changing it. So this is a very, very serious charge. I think it needs to be fully investigated. And if there is truth that somebody has been meddling with their analysis, I think somebody needs to lose their job over it, and there needs to be full transparency into this, because this is so important that analysts actually get to say what they really think.
Now, I think someone should be thrown in jail, but I think...
Well, here's what's interesting with that is that this is reintroducing the old battles between the agencies.
Exactly.
So Morell, who represents the CIA, no matter what he says... So the CIA is whatever's going on. The CIA is irked about it. Now, the article that kind of discusses this in detail, of course, would come from The Guardian, which I sent you a link, which will be in the show notes.
In the show notes, yeah.
U.S. spy chief's highly unusual reported contact with military official raises concerns, and they apparently not mentioned in any of these reports, and including the Morell report. This is all James Clapper.
Yeah,
Clapper has been meddling. And apparently he meddled with the guys that they named on the Fox report with Megyn Kelly, those three people. This guy throws names out there. That's apparently those guys aren't high enough up to talk to Clapper.
I just realized something. Just realized something. Oh, my God.
OMG.
OMG. So Clapper was leading this panel on the Hill. It was a Senate investigation or interrogation or just a discussion, little scripted thing they got going on there. And you had Comey from the FBI, you had Brenner from CIA, you had Admiral Michael, what's his name? Rogers from NSA. You had some guy I'd never heard of before from the Air Force. I don't know what he was from. But Clapper was in the middle, and he was really orchestrating this entire thing. And he would hand off the questions and say, okay, Jim, why don't you grab that one? And he said something that I caught, Michael Rogers. That's not Mike Rogers, the radio star. That's Admiral Mike, yeah. And he said something that it just, I had to go back and listen to it again. And now it makes sense with this, with these reports. Listen to what he says.
When I look at it from a threat perspective, I would argue three things really, as I focus in the future.
I should say this is about cyber. This is about
that's Clapper?
No, Clapper hands it off to Rogers.
That's Rogers talking?
Yes. Huh. And this is about cybersecurity, which I have a number of clips from, but I just jumped ahead to this one.
Against U.S. critical infrastructure. Well, the second item to me is, are we going to see a shift in a trend from not just outright theft of information, but are we going to start to see a focus on manipulation or changing of data once someone is able to gain access to a system? So we start to question the validity of what we all are particularly looking at.
Now, that is interesting in this context. We could say, someone manipulated that data. And maybe it came from outside.
Well, this thickens the plot, whatever the case.
Yeah.
And I would say this article, which people should read, talks about how Clapper shouldn't be talking to this guy Grove, who's a 2-star general, but he's apparently a couple of levels down because you can't go outside of the, you're supposed to stay within the
ranks, the
chain of command. But Clapper's not doing that. But here's the thing, and then it's got some CIA stuff in here because the CIA seems like they felt pressure and they didn't like it. Here's the problem I have with all this analysis from Morell and everyone in between is that Clapper's the boss.
Yeah, I know. It's the blind leading the blind.
Well, it's blind leading the blind or not. He's the boss.
Yeah.
So who are you going to fire? The boss? He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to go in there and go up to Grove and say, hey, this data that you guys have provided, I want it to sound like this. Write it this way.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's not everything Morell said was totally bogus.
Yeah.
Oh, head should roll. Whose head should roll?
Yeah, it should be the boss, really.
Well, the boss's head isn't going to roll. He's the boss. He says whatever he says goes. Whatever he says is what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to manipulate the data so it sounds a certain way because he told you to do that, that's what you do. You don't bitch about it.
I'd like to play a few more clips since we're down this road from this cybersecurity question and answer session. Did you see this at all, John?
No, I missed it completely.
It's really, it's quite good. There's a lot of different things. Of course, it's 2 hours long. Here's our buddy Comey. Now, as you know, he's big on encryption, and he's all about the dark web. And he's
big on his encryption, but he doesn't want anyone else using it.
Strong encryption. But let's talk about the dark web for a moment. Dark web. This would be the Onion router, better known as Tor, long suspected of being compromised, particularly if you see who the investors are and the funders are of the project, which includes the military. So it's not strange to think that Comey, or not a surprise to hear Comey say, we're not afraid of the dark web.
Well, we have our fair share of criminals, and criminals increasingly operate online because that's where our lives are. Right? That's where children play. That's where we bank. That's where our health care is.
I hope my health care isn't all there. And that's where children play.
And so people want to hurt kids. That's where they're operating. Then they're often sharing.
Think of the children.
Images with each other on the dark web, hoping that we won't be able to find it. That they'll use the Onion router to hide their communications. As part of child exploitation, we see fraudsters of all kinds, whether it's health care or just trying to steal your banking transactions, trying to operate in a way that we can't see. And so they think if they go to the dark web, the hidden layers, so-called, of the internet that they can hide from us. They're kidding themselves because of the effort that's been put in by all of us in the government over the last 5 years or so, that they are out of our view. But it's a big feature of criminal activity in the United States.
Yeah, you're kidding yourselves, boys. Which means they've got all the exit nodes, and Tor is inherently not safe.
Well, that's why they plugged the Onion router.
Of course, keep it rolling, everybody. Then we have...
they don't say anything about, interconnected proxies using numerous VPNs all linked one to another.
No, all he's saying is you'd be very disappointed when you find out how good we are.
Yeah, well.
Now, let's get to the encryption part. And Comey is a bonehead. This guy's a banker. He shouldn't be.
Yeah, he's a banker.
He shouldn't be directing the FBI. But okay, I'm gonna not name somebody, and let's see. Well, we're all good.
We all care about safety and security on the internet. Right? I'm a big fan of strong encryption.
Woo!
We all care about public safety. And the problem we have here is those are in tension in a whole lot of our work, increasingly in counterterrorism and criminal work and counterintelligence work. And given that we care about the same things, I hope we can all agree that we ought to come together to try and solve that problem.
He's talking here about private companies.
What's the problem?
Oh, the problem is encryption, that they can't decrypt.
He believes in strong encryption, and what's he bitching about?
But he wants the key. He wants the key.
Come together to try and solve that problem. I've heard from a lot of folks that it's too hard, and my reaction to that is, really?
I like that. That is such a Silicon Valley douche thing to say. Like, really?
Yeah, that is... Really? Have we really tried?
No.
Have we really tried? When I look at industry today, I see companies, I'm not going to name them here, but major internet service providers.
Now, this is really good what he's doing here. I'm going to roll that back a little bit. I'm not going to name them, but it becomes very apparent who he's talking about. But he's doing one of these things that we've heard throughout, these discussions. Well, these guys can use that data for this. No one cares about that. How come we can't do it?
Major internet service providers who are able to comply with court orders, because they strongly encrypt in transit and they decrypt when it crosses their networks, so they can read our emails, so they can send us ads. I've never heard anybody say those companies are fundamentally insecure.
Hold on, I'm raising my hand. Yeah, I would say so. Google.
Fatally flawed from a security perspective.
Fatally flawed.
So I don't think we've really tried, and also don't think there's an it to the solution. I would imagine there might be many, many solutions depending upon whether you're an enormous company that's in this business or a tiny company in that business. I just think we haven't given it the shot that it deserves, which is why I welcome the dialogue, and we're having some very healthy discussions.
It's a great conversation. It's never going to happen, Comey. The genie's out of the bottle. It's not going to happen.
They've told him this a number of times. In fact, they've told him in front of Congress.
He doesn't understand. That's the problem. He fundamentally does.
That one hearing, I forgot who it was, but it was one of that. Maybe the head of the subcommittee said, if you're expecting what he's saying, which is that everyone's going to jump in bed and give you their keys, that's not going to happen. It's a non-starter. Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. But he's now. But I need to ask you a fundamental constitutional question: whether it is kinetic or cyber, if we go on an offensive move.
Kinetic.
I watched this thing for 2 hours. The words come to me naturally now. Kinetic. Whether it is kinetic offensive or cyber offensive, who has the authority to declare that tactic? Or maybe you should just say war.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
If we're going to strike another nation with bombs or with cyber, who determines?
Kinetic means bombs?
Yeah, kinetic means bombs, yeah. You didn't know that?
Well, I do now.
Who has the authority?
They can't just say bomb them again. They have to say kinetic.
It sounds cooler. Who has the authority, according to the Constitution, to attack another country?
The Congress.
Really?
The Congress has to approve this.
Are you sure of that?
That's what it says in the Constitution.
So the application of cyber in an offensive way is an application of force. The application of force under the law of armed conflict in the...
This is Rogers again, by the way.
...broader policy construct that we use as nations, once you move beyond self-defense, is a decision that is made at a broad policy level. It's not something I, for example, as the director of NSA or as the commander of U.S. Cyber Command, just unilaterally decide. It's not the framework. Again, not unique to the cyber world. It's the same fundamental construct we use for the application of force in the kinetic world within the Department of Defense and more broadly in other areas.
Who makes that determination?
So it depends on a case-by-case basis, but clearly the Secretary of Defense has granted some authorities. The President retains some authorities at his level, and that's all part of the process that we work through, and we deal with each individual event on the merits of its own.
Where's Congress in all this?
Oh, they just bypass Congress.
That's insane. But it's just his total belief. Yeah, we're in charge of that. Yeah, we got to hear from the Department of Defense.
Heads in Congress. What are they going to do?
Yeah, you'll hear from the president. Yeah, but ultimately, screw the citizens of Gitmo Nation.
It's a dictatorship.
We do whatever we want, and not a peep out of any of these senators saying, "How about Congress?" No.
Oh, not a peep. Senate hearing, right?
Yeah, not a peep. They don't care.
They've abrogated.
Ooh, good word.
Their responsibilities.
Good word.
They have responsibilities. They've decided that they don't want these responsibilities.
They pass it off. Yeah, pass it off.
I'll let the president. He won't do anything stupid.
There was unfortunately, I don't think this ever made it to a video report, but ABC News reports that they had a conversation with a, quote, counterterrorism official familiar with operations against ISIS. And this is about the propagandist, the ISIS propagandist, who was droned. Let me see if I have his name here. Fadil Ahmad al-Hayali. No, I'm sorry. Junaid Hussain, who some officials called a senior propagandist in ISIS, even though he was only 9 years old when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003. Hussein's claim, I'm reading from the ABC News report, Hussein's claim to jihad fame was suspected role in leading the cyber caliphate from Raqqa, Syria, where, among other things, the young Briton tweeted a call to attack a Draw the Prophet contest in Garland, Texas. So we know all about that. Quote, a Twitter tough guy. You can't convince me that he wasn't a shit target, one counterterrorism official familiar with operations against ISIS told ABC News, calling Hussein, 21 years old, a senior member of ISIS. And then down here, wasting time on guys like him is how the big guys keep operating. The U.S. should be smoking leadership. And then they call it low-hanging fruit. Essentially what they're saying in this article is it's okay to drone someone who is just propagandizing on Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, no one's on record, and that's probably why they didn't turn it into a news report. But is that really what we're doing? It's like, some troll on Twitter, and we found who he is. Let's stop trolling. Actually, it's probably a good idea for all trolls to drone them.
Well, let's just drone anybody we feel like.
Well, it seems like that.
You got the finger on the button, and you got the coordinates. You got the kill list or the package. What is it called?
The targeting package. Yeah, targeting.
You just add a few names with a pen. You take a pen, you get your targeting package. You add a few names at the bottom if you know where they are.
Yeah, good to go.
And then blow them up.
Good to go.
They're on the they were on the targeting package.
Meanwhile, it looks like the vote for all these cyber regulations, the Cyber Act, will be moved until end of October. And you recall that part of the Cybersecurity Sharing Act, one company has been put in the middle between, with full indemnification between commercial, the private sector and the government sector to share this information. That company is called FireEye. And there's this researcher who's been kind of waving his hand and yelling a little bit for the past 6 weeks saying, hello, there's a 0-day vulnerability in FireEye and you guys are compromised. And no one's reporting on this. No one.
No, they're not.
There's full details of what's going on, pasted on Pastebin. This may come up when they go to vote for some of these.
Yeah, it won't.
What am I saying? How stupid of me. No. And then the best one, I love this. The Gitmo Nation East UK spy agency GCHQ has published a report. If anyone really believes it, here's the report on internet security, advising the citizens of Gitmo Nation East on how to stay secure. And they say, we advise fewer and less complex passwords should be used in order to increase security online. Instead of adding more and varied characters. What? Yes.
We suggest ABC 123 as the password.
Yeah, here's from the report. This proliferation of password use and increasingly complex password requirements places an unrealistic demand on most users. Inevitably, users will devise their own coping mechanisms to cope with password overload. This includes
it's called click on forgot password.
Includes writing down passwords, reusing the same passwords across different systems, or using simple and predictable password creation strategies. But they are saying here, you really should just have less passwords and make them simpler. Less characters. Sounds good to me. Do you think people buy that?
Nobody reads that. What you have there is just in the ether. Nobody buys it because nobody even hears it.
Well, there's at least 10,000 people who listen to this show who hear it.
No, there's more than 10,000.
Okay, well, that's good.
250,000 people at least.
Oh, really?
To the show.
All right. That's just your guess.
No, it's a good guess, believe me.
Okay.
Take my word for it.
I'm taking your word. Any more on cyber?
I'm talking about the public at large.
Yeah, and of course not.
One thing, the people who listen to the show aren't that dumb.
It's so incredible that they try this.
Yeah, that's the way around Comey's idea.
Shorter passwords, simple. Keep it simple.
Shorter passwords. That way you can crack them like they probably there's probably a classic. It's like 8 or something. 8. letters and characters that they can crack in less than a second with a supercomputer. They just mash it.
I'm sure, yeah. I don't know how that works. I'll have to look into that. I don't know if it's the number of characters in a password or the type of encryption. I'm not clear on if that makes it easier. It sounds like it would make it easier. It sounds like it would make it easier to just guess it.
You can't guess passwords.
Yeah.
Of course, they overuse that gimmick. My favorite, some of the commonplaces you see in television plots and scripts. Sometimes they get a little old. I mean, there's my all-time favorite, which is like, please, will you stop doing this? It's just annoying, which is keep them on the line for a minute. We're trying to trace the call.
We need at least 90 seconds.
There is like every call since, I don't know, 1980 has got the header information on the call with the phone number embedded, even when you don't have, you have call waiting disabled.
Who still uses that? Who still uses that?
The bit about keep them on the line?
In television.
Everybody.
In television shows still?
Yes, every show still does it. And it always ends up, it's a plot point. It's like it's a gimmick. It's a plot gimmick. And so it always goes like, oh, he hung up. Oh, we almost had it.
Damn. And you always have the guy with the headphones looking over and shaking his head. No, didn't get it.
Exactly. It's like, this is like from the 40s.
Sorry, man. Couldn't keep him on long enough. Although I'll say, in Mr. Robot, they do a lot of human hacking. It's like, let me see. What could the code to the safe be? Wait a minute. He graduated in 2012, 07, 09. I'll reverse that.
I was just going to say that was my other pet peeve.
Yeah, it was a little too easy.
Every one of these shows, any cyber, the guy saying, "What do we get? What's his date of birth?" And they type in 3 and 4, and they do. NCIS is the worst at this.
Of course,
they got this one guy. He goes on there, he says. And he just within 5 tries, he's got the guy's password because it's his sister's middle name plus the dog's
his pet. Yeah,
yeah, bull crap.
Yeah,
I mean, once in a while, yes, the way you easily crack a password is someone who happens to be using the word password.
Yeah,
because a lot of people, it is the literateness of the public at large when it says, "What's your name?" You type your name and your email address, and it says. Type password.
Right.
So they type
password.
This is like the old any key joke.
Yeah. I can't find the any key.
I can't find the any key. There's no any key. So they type in password because they were told to type in password.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough.
All right. On to the migrant situation in Europe. Now we're getting some really cool information coming out. This is being misused, abused in any way possible. Propaganda.
The news media.
Yes, propaganda running rampant. Let us start, of course, with RT. I have to disclaim that so you understand where it's coming from.
There's alarm in Europe over allegations that Islamic State militants are infiltrating the continent by blending with crowds of migrants. One Hungarian TV network is even reporting that the security services have detained 2 militants who revealed their identities in photos on social media.
Yeah, of course. Makes total sense. ISIS, jihadis. You're going to see a lot of this. Now, let's go to Hungary where they identified this. I'm not quite sure how they did that because there was this video on... It's Reuters.
How did they do it? They didn't. It's bullcrap.
Right. So they have all these people corralled in this like a big warehouse, and there's fences, like wire fences, cordoning off sections, and there's mattresses, and the police are dressed in full garb with helmets on, and they're doing this.
The policemen, they throwed sandwiches and bread, which was packed in plastic bags. They were throwing those plastic bags into the crowd, and whoever was able to catch that bag was lucky, I guess. And some of them.
So they have sandwiches in plastic bags, and they're tossing them out. Like at a concert. Like, here's my guitar pick. They're throwing them out. These kids are trying to get it. People are fighting over bread.
Yeah. No, this is what you do.
Brought them to the women and the children waiting on the side. And some of them were eating it right away. Some children were trying to get on the fence to stand up higher, just trying to catch whatever they can get.
This is only one building where the refugees have a building to sleep. The other people have to sleep outside in tents. It remembered me on a concentration camp.
All right, so it remembered me of a concentration camp. Then we have Fox News, Caitlin McFarland, who is a special reporter. Now, she has a whole different take on this because, of course, this is a plot, this migrant situation.
How much of this is Russia and China trying to slough off these refugees on Europe and everybody else as a way of sort of playing playing with these human lives to try to gain political and global capital?
Russia is sending military equipment, is sending it by sea, is sending it overland, is sending it by air to try to prop up the Assad government to continue the fighting. So
continue the fighting and continue the refugee crisis.
Oh, sure, right, exactly,
right, and obviously
only gets worse.
We know how much Putin loves Europe in terms of being able to give Europe a problem to deal with the refugees.
But the worry becomes, are they going to gang up? The Chinese and the Russians going to gang up against the United States and our interests throughout the world? And I think you are going to see more of that.
Okay, so it's Russia and China who are making the refugees cross into Europe. Good.
That's an interesting theory.
I like that a lot. Well, Obama kind of reiterated it, now that we have, Russian submarines off the coast and everything, and he spoke at some school recently.
So Russia has, for many years now, provided financial support, sold arms to Assad. I remember a conversation I had with Mr. Putin 4 or 5 years ago where I told him...
Notice he doesn't say President Putin. He says Mr. Putin, which is degrading.
That was a mistake. It would make things worse as long as he continued to support Assad. He did not take my warnings, and as a consequence, things have gotten worse. It appears now that Assad is worried enough that he's inviting Russian advisors in and Russian equipment in. And that won't change our core strategy, which is to continue to put pressure on ISIL in Iraq and Syria. But we are going to be engaging Russia to let them know that you can't continue to double down on a strategy that's doomed to failure. And that if they are willing to work with us and the 60-nation coalition that we've put together, then there's the possibility of a political settlement in which Assad would be transitioned out and a new coalition of moderate, secular, and inclusive forces would come together to restore order in the country. That's our goal.
So again, it's all Russia. Doesn't matter where it is. It's always Russia who's doing it.
Well, and you know why? It got Snowden.
It's the same strategy, of course, that's being played out in Ukraine. And then the final word I have is from Nigel Farage. And he has a very distinctive take on the integration of these migrants. And he really believes they're migrants, actually, although he has some other little ideas about it. And this, of course, all comes in with the distribution or the splitting up of the numbers now, 160,000 migrants amongst the European countries, and the United Kingdom also has to take a few.
Is it your worst fears come real?
Not yet, but they're coming closer. We've got this big police manhunt in Calais. There were 5 people in Hungary 2 weeks ago who were behaving badly and detained by the police and found to have jihadist images of beheadings on their mobile phones. We've seen one of the suspects from the first Tunisian massacre photographed getting off a boat and landing on Italian soil. And as I've said 6 months ago, when Islamic State say they will use this tide of humanity that is coming across the Mediterranean to embed thousands of their jihadist fighters into Europe, they mean it. And yet, what do we have? We have people who want to feel good about themselves, holding up signs saying refugees welcome, not understanding that there is a huge difference and distinction between a genuine refugee and people seeking to mass migrate across continents.
You were less than impressed this week with Jean-Claude Juncker's suggestion that Europe as a whole should take over 100,000 migrants. Why were you so angry, Mr. Farage?
Well, he said actually in May 40,000. He's now upped it to 160,000. I've no doubt by this time next year it'll be 460,000. And we're not actually working out who is a refugee and who isn't. And just to remind people, the 1951 Geneva Convention that defines a refugee as somebody who is directly in fear of persecution because of their race, religion, ethnicity, or political views. It is not, I'm afraid to say, just because you come from a poor country, or even because you're displaced by war. Do you know, Nick, at the moment, the United Nations estimate there are 59 million people in the world who are displaced by conflicts and wars of some kind. Now, I'm not against doing what we can to try and help people who are in camps in Turkey and Lebanon and everything else. But for Europe to have opened its doors unconditionally, I think could prove to be one of the biggest mistakes in history.
I think you may be right.
I don't know. I think he's being taken in by the local propaganda.
Well, yeah, everyone's being taken in by something somewhere. Farage, no exception.
Well, I mean, if anybody's getting a kick out of this, it's got to be us. We'll bring a few people over, of course.
It's interesting you say that. I had drinks yesterday with the former New York banker, and out of the blue, he says, "Man, this is going to destroy Europe." And the bankers like it. They feel that they've already won somehow.
They like it.
Yeah, they say, we've already won. We have all the money. The American banks won. European banks lost. It'll be another 10 years before they even have a chance at winning over us. I'm not quite sure what they mean other than, we have all the money. Everything's in dollars still. And he sees no issue with that whatsoever, which is along the lines of thinking you've always, you agree with, that the dollar's not going away.
Right.
And he says, breaking up the nationalist culture of countries, and it's like France. What are they now? Are they French? Look at Lyon. They're not French anymore. Look at the Netherlands. All of these countries are kind of falling apart, and now you add all these migrants into the mix, and it'll be 1 million by next year.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to rip everything apart, and the bankers like it. Yeah, that's great.
The bankers do like it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, bankers are always behind the wars, aren't they?
So the one, usually when there's something going on, if an anchor on one of the, I'm going to do some part of the big three thing, 3x3.
3 networks, 3 weeks.
They like to take vacations, so so if there's something going on somewhere, they'll go there. I'm here in Moscow because the Russians, their toilets are backing up, so I'm come out to check it out. So nobody has gone to the migrant thing except David Muir finally did. He took off.
He's the ABC?
He's ABC.
Yeah. Anchor, no less.
He's the anchor. The anchors go into these remote locations that when they want to take a vacation. And then, they go to the muck around for a while. And then they go, stop in Paris as a stopover and spend a couple of days there. They're off usually. And then they have a couple of dinners. 2 nights in Paris is fine.
If you're female, get your hair done by Pierre.
So there's David Muir on the long road. Now, here's why this clip is interesting. Because one of the things that we've brought it up before, and you kind of touched on it with your clips there, is why are all of a sudden, we noticed this before, all of a sudden it's like these migrants are all hanging out in Turkey and they're in Lebanon, they're everywhere. And
Turkey and Jordan, yeah.
They're piling up. And now all of a sudden they took off and they're all heading to Europe. Now, he actually tries to answer this question, which is the first time I've ever seen it done on any of the 3 networks. The why. Everyone's sorry?
No, I'm sorry. I fired too early.
Everyone's left out the why. So I don't know whether this answer is correct, because the why that ABC news guys have come up with is that they all got fed up at once and decided to leave. Not quite buying it.
That's rich.
This is kind of an interesting report anyway.
Estimate up to 500,000 have already fled war, terror, and poverty entering Europe this year. More than 2,300 have died at sea. And so many asking, why the exodus now? Our team along the route for weeks. Families telling us that their hope was finally lost. Trapped in refugee camps on Syria's borders, they have realized it's simply getting worse. They also say they now have a route to follow. Many have heard from family, loved ones, telling me today they've sent maps, tips on social media, Facebook, tips to avoid the danger. And they say there is a sense of safety in numbers. They now know they're not the first ones. Like that couple we met today. We went back to find them further up that route at a makeshift tent camp.
Everything is just covered in mud here. And we're going to see if we can find that young family. Hey, how are you? You have food? You got food?
Food, yes.
We find them eating dinner.
Yes.
Just handed their first hot meal in a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
in a month.
That sounds. And they all have smartphones, or how are they getting on the Twitter information?
I have no idea, but this is the way I'm seeing this. This is not an unusual situation during a actual worldwide depression.
He was in. I'm sorry to interrupt. He was in Turkey, or
no? He was in Hungary.
Oh, okay. He was on the receiving end. Okay,
borders.
Gotcha.
No, he took a good one in there, right into the guts of it, right where all the people were walking up and down the tracks. He was like there. I admire that. And then he's slogging through mud. Of course, he's puffing and puffing like a 90-year-old man, but I don't know what that was about. So during a real depression, you have these mass migrations. It just happens all the time. And you have also an effect in the United States, which we haven't seen so much of because this depression has been tempered by the printing of money. And so it hasn't really been exaggerated like it was in the 30s. But it's the old, the hobos used to go from placed in the 30s from house to house, and they make markings, these bum marks on different houses, and they those.
Oh yeah, so it's like the old war driving, so you know
it was
get
code.
There. Yeah.
So if you were another guy coming along and you saw an X with an underline, you knew that this lady would give you food or she'd give you work for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I think there's some truth to the. I guess there were pioneers from these refugee camps that somehow, like maybe a year or two ago, had wormed their way to Germany. And wormed their way through, or to Sweden's another place where they seem to be fine with these guys coming over. They need more workers. And then they've come up with maps, Rick Steves' Guide to Migration to Germany, this sort of thing. They come up with books and guides and phone numbers and contacts. And then I think they did start. It was like an exodus. Let's go.
But also the possibility that Erdogan said, "Get these people out of my country."
No, I think there was an element of that, or they sensed that was going to happen.
Yeah, because he's got 1 million people in Turkey alone. Like, get them out. And I don't think they can just wander.
You don't know. If you really want to get conspiratorial, you could say that some, couple of Turk intelligence guys made this trip, and then they're the ones who wrote all the books on how to do it. It's like a how-to, and they passed it around. Saying, look, you can get out of here.
From what I've seen in the Turkish refugee camps, you can't just wander out. So they're being let out.
Yeah, you have to be let out.
So that could be that. So probably either way.
We'll let a bunch of guys go tonight. 9 o'clock, we're going to open the gates. Don't tell anybody but your friends.
I just, it just seems so improbable to me that all the smart people in government, all the think tanks outside of government, that no one foresaw this was going to happen, that this is a big surprise.
Think tanks charging a lot of money.
Yeah.
Those things are not cheap, those reports. They're $1,500 a pop, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And up. Or they're done on a contract basis for like $50,000.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But none of them have said, hey, you should watch out for mass migration. It's history shows this happens all the time. But more importantly, and I think you're right now, take that into context of the former New York banker who says, we won, we've got all the money. Eventually, everyone will want to come here.
Yeah, well, that's why we're working on all these ways of keeping people out.
Excellent.
It's almost like an experiment. You listen to Donald Trump go on and on about the wall and other mechanisms. What we're going to do with these 11 million that are here. We also have them as a barrier. It's like, we can't take you. We've got 11 million undocumented Mexicans.
Yeah, we have no room for you.
We have no room. All these Mexicans are here. They're all here, and you can't come in. I mean, the whole thing could be a scam.
Where are the Kagans? You got to think the Kagans are behind this somehow.
Somebody's behind it. I have one last thing about this, which is
good.
Somebody sent this in, and I decided to clip it. One of our producers, apparently there's a Reddit, an AMA. Have you seen this? I think it just came in this morning. An AMA about, which is an Ask Me Anything in Reddit.
Wait, they still do? They still do those? I thought that was all broken up and didn't work anymore.
No, the famous ones are broken up, or they're harder to do because you can't find any way of getting a hold of these celebrities.
Right.
No, this is an AMA. It just came out. The Syrian immigrant in Germany, AMA.
I don't see that.
And so, it's in there somewhere. Anyway, so this guy checked it out. I read part of it, and the guy says, our producer says, tell me that it doesn't sound like it was written by an intern from the State Department. And it absolutely is.
Are you sure you sent this? I'm sorry, but I don't know what.
I didn't send it. It was sent to us.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I didn't send it to you.
As a clip?
Got a copy somewhere.
Oh, it's just written. It's not a clip.
No, it's not a clip.
Oh, okay. I'm looking for a clip. Okay, I got you.
No, they don't do. I don't know that they do clips.
No. Now, do you have this or not?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I was trying to read from it.
I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I got you.
No, you're not. You are coming in mass numbers is a question. You're backwards and you will commit many crimes. The answer is, yep, many people come in mass numbers, but we won't commit crimes. Why do you think these people are criminals? If I'm in Syria, and he goes on and making excuses. Anyway, there's these questions like this, these stupid AMA questions. And then finally, number 4, right up near the top. And this is what would make anyone suspicious. This is written by the State Department to make a point. Question number 4. Are there ISIS jihadists among the refugees?
Good question.
One sentence answer. Yes, that is quite a high possibility. Bull crap.
Oh, man. It's going to be fun to watch, though, because this is perfect. You can do anything you want now in Europe and just blame it on the migrants.
Oh, the whole thing is going to be a riot.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
It's nothing but fun.
LGY. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C. Dvorak.
And I want to thank you, and thank you for your courage, Mr. Adam Curry. Also, all the boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning, everyone in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Good to see over 1,000. Oh, a lot of people there today. It's nice. In the morning, to our artists, thank you very much, PewDiePie, once again bringing us the art for episode 755. And it was kind of like an art off of sorts. A lot of people were delivering
lot of art. It's like rains and pours. It rains and pours.
And we always save everything for later for newsletters, or if we can't find anything for a particular episode. It's noagendaartgenerator.com. And this was a nice one. It was about Haiti, except the H on the map of Haiti was Hillary's campaign H logo.
Arrow. Since I'm with stupid logo.
Yeah. So I like that a lot. And we always look forward to submissions. Again, noagendaartgenerator.com. And we have a few people to thank, I believe, as executive and associate executive producers.
And a bunch of associate executive producers, beginning with Sir Brian Barrow in Swindon, the UK, 34567, one of my favorite donations. We looked for a note from him, and he did not have one. And I sent him an email this morning to see if he wanted to.
I don't see anything from him either. So
let's see if anything came in. I don't see it.
No, I see nothing.
No, nope. So that's he'll get in touch with us when he feels like it. Nikara Greff in I don't know where he is actually.
He's in the military.
He's in the military. It looks like in APO. $333.33. He'll be our second executive producer. He says, thank you guys for keeping us sane. I wanted to say happy birthday to my husband. Oh, Nikara is a female name. Nikara. I want to thank you. Say happy birthday to my husband. You have him on the list? Yes.
I believe so.
Yellow. Please call out Jimmy Weaver as the douchebag. And for a jingle, she'd like to hear Obama's A-Team, ISIS in America. And if we can get some job karma, it'd be much appreciated.
Okay, we can do that.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, and the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS. I feel good.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Yo. combo.
It's to help. Joe Biden said that, of course, and we want to maybe talk a little bit about his appearance.
Oh, yes, definitely.
On the cold.
I have not watched any more than the first episode of Colbert.
Yeah. Stephen Yarosh in Wakefield, Massachusetts. That's 23456. Please accept my donation of 23456 and help me celebrate my 43rd birthday. Do you have him on the list? On so. 9/13.
I think so.
This donation should make me a knight.
Ooh.
I would like to be knighted, Sir Mike of Wakefield.
Okay.
John, please say Mike Yarosh, where Yarosh is pronounced Yarish. I don't give a damn if PayPal has called me Steven. It's Mike. See, it says Steven. I said Steven Yarosh instead of Mike Yarish.
Okay. Yarosh.
So you should put that at the beginning of the note.
So it's let me do this correctly. So it's Yarosh. Let me just get it. It's Yarosh is how you pronounce it?
Yarish.
Yarish. Okay, because I needed to do it in the segment later on. Okay, Yarish.
Yarish. And it's Mike. He says, or I would just want to remind people that if you got I want to be anonymous, or I got here's how you pronounce my name, put all that at the very beginning, because we read these things in real time. Yeah. I mean, we don't rehearse. So
we don't have like producers and stuff prompting us
to help us.
No,
we don't have any helpers.
No.
He wants a douchebag call out to Eric. Douchebag. And Al.
Okay.
Douchebag. Still haven't donated. He'd like some home buying karma and a bingo boom shakalaka. It would make for a perfect birthday.
Bingo boom boom shakalaka boom 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 shakalaka boom boom shakalaka boom shakalaka.
You've got karma.
Double shot.
Indeed. And okay. Okay, I couldn't find my cursor. Sorry, Ethan Smith.
Hey, that monitor fixed, huh?
It's a little. I got to change the cursor. It's a little bigger, or it should have trails. I don't have it set up for trails.
Trails? You got trails?
Chemtrails.
Also, I don't have it set up so when you hit the control button, it lights it up. I don't know why I don't do these things, but as soon as the show's over, I turn the machine off and go someplace else.
Got something better to do. I hear you.
Yes. To get off the machine. Ethan Smith in Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, I got to do research for the next show. Once the show is over.
Yeah, we start right away. It's like the Super Bowl. The minute the Super Bowl is over, we're already producing the next year's Super Bowl.
Uh-huh. 22588 from Ethan.
We just make it look easy.
In Kentucky, a beautiful little town. This is my third stonation. Maybe it's a stonation. I'll try it.
Yeah, try.
That's my third stonation towards the show. With this amount, I become a 1/3 knight. Seeing as I'm now an associate producer, I feel it's time I get a de-douching.
No, hold on. Let me do that.
You've been de-douched.
For the third time, I have to call out the man who hit me in the mouth. Jay Hamilton is a man overboard and a douchebag. Douchebag. Also, Lyman Darby. Douchebag. Once you finally donate, it feels better each time. I'd like Don't Be a Denier, Chemtrails, Squirrel, and I Love Bugs. Thank you, and Adam, for your courage. Man overboard! Don't be a denier.
The science is in. Science. Chemtrails. Squirrel. I love bugs.
You've got karma.
Tastes like poop.
Sir Thomas
I had timed that one, didn't I?
That's good. Sir Thomas Nussbaum.
I'm proud of myself, Mom, for playing a poop jingle.
Virginia Beach, Virginia, 21089. I am now a 9X knight. Duke by my birthday. So by the 13th of October, he expects to make it.
Oh.
So he's on a mission.
Oh, how nice.
Travis Benelli in Escondido, California, $200. What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
broke but scrapped up a donation for the best podcast in the universe. Wow. Give him a karma.
No, absolutely. Broke and still donating. Thank you.
You've got karma.
And finally, last but not least, in Whitecourt, Alberta, Canada, if $200 comes in, D's nuts.
Oh, presidential candidate D's nuts.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, whatever happened to him? What happened to that story? I've never seen a story drop like such a hot potato.
Yeah, it was something they were trying to do to make the numbers look dumb.
That were doing it.
Yeah, but they were trying to make the polling data look stupid. And the news is never going to say that their polling data is off.
They got to...
They're never going to do that.
Here's the deal. They've got a grand scheme, these news guys, these media guys, the big media guys, not the little media guys like we are, the big media guys. They got a scam going. It involves rigging the election. So it sounds, I mean, the votes aren't rigged. I don't know.
It's rigging the reporting.
Rigging the results of the results. So you make it sound like it's exciting. Things are going on.
Close
Trump's
race.
in the head and
Close
all the
race.
rest.
And Ben Carson all of a sudden beating Hillary.
Yes, all this is bullcrap.
Yeah.
So D's nuts comes rolling into the picture, and they screw things up and make everyone look like idiots. So they just the word went out. It must have happened all at the same time. They all agreed in some meeting at some club, at the Capitol Hill Club or something.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just drop this stupid story because it's making us look like idiots. Okay.
We have a lot of college kids listening. What we call millennials. And I do want to say that we have no problem with millennials. Of course, we do generalize, and a lot of millennials are morons.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, but they're not all morons.
Well, actually, very few of them are genuinely morons. Very few.
Mm-hmm. And a lot listen to the show, and some even scrape together their money and support the program.
And I suspect D's nuts is one of them.
And a lot
in Whitecourt, Alberta. What else you got to do?
And a lot.
Where do you live? I live in Whitecourt. Oh, fantastic!
And of course, if you're doing any kind of research, search.nashownotes.com is a great resource for you in school. And I got a question from Richard. He said, I have a question for you. This is for you and I both, John. Has been eating at me. I guess I'm a millennial, though I'm not honestly sure. I was born in 1990. Yeah. Yeah, you're a millennial. And I've been...
Cut off point around 1985.
Right. And I've been supporting Bernie Sanders for several months now as I identify with his message and like what he is doing and saying. While I think Trump is kind of silly sometimes, I like him as well, but think Sanders would be a better president after the last three disastrous ones. Wow, that's programming in your mind, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
The word last three disastrous presidents, that's programming. Yeah, what I can't figure out is why you hate him so much. Now, let me say.
Who hates who?
Yeah, he thinks that we hate Bernie Sanders.
Oh, no, I got to feel the burn button.
All I've heard is you call him a douchebag without explaining why. I don't think I've ever called him a douchebag. And then call my generation stupid. It has really pushed me away from the show, and even though I've been listening since the start, can you please explain to me why you feel the way you do about Sanders and why Trump will be better than the one he is entertaining? I genuinely don't understand. And now I replied, we don't hate him, but the guy's a socialist. I personally have lived in socialist countries. It sucks. I don't want that. And then he comes back. He says, okay, but don't a lot of his ideas and proposals make sense for the country, like a tax on Wall Street to make 4-year college free and lowering medical costs and fixing Obamacare? And I say, yeah, that's socialism. So I think people need to understand what it is. Now, we can be a socialist country if you want. That's up to anyone who votes.
I do want to talk about this for a little while. Let's finish this segment up, and then I want to talk about Bernie Sanders.
Okay, good.
I had another recent run-in with one of my millennial kids.
Oh, good. You want to do it now, or do you want to? I just have to finish.
I just want to let's give D's nuts a dose of karma.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoever he or she is, and because they're in Whitecourt.
Karma.
I mean, come on. Yeah. What are they going to do? They got nothing. What do you think of Whitecourt? Nothing. Playing video games.
Can I just finish up the segment? We'll get into Bernie Sanders because I have one more. I have a PR thing to promote. Angela Castaneda, who is our producer in Vegas, and she has I think she has an agency, advertising agency, and she's given me work, voiceover work, the only voiceover work I've ever gotten. But
somebody gave you work.
Yeah, but she sent me an email. She said, Adam, this is what I do. Let me produce the I Love Laundry tour. And, Tina was nice. Tina, the keeper, was nice enough to, help me with the schedule. I'm like, wow, is this coming from heaven or what? And I said, are you sure? She said, absolutely. And I said, oh, please go, because we need people to coordinate meetups and all this stuff. And it's a lot to do if I'm driving and doing the show, etc. And she set up ilovelaundrytour.com. Right now, it's just a sign up for producers who want to help out. And I'm very appreciative of Angela for doing that. So ilovelaundrytour.com. And this will be a site that expands as we go along. This is where you say, that's cool.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Thank you to all of our producers, execs, and associate executive producers. And you must continue to propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizens.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave. All right, millennials.
So my daughter's over, and she sees that I collected I got a bumper stickers, I've got some signs, and some other stuff for the archives. And I have the Feel the Burn, because I ran into Bernie Sanders group, by the way, being the socialists that they are. When you see, they have a table over by the farmers market in El Cerrito, California, every Saturday, and they give you want a button, take a button. You want a bumper sticker, take a bumper sticker. Hillary's people, you bumper stickers $1. Button's $1.
Really? Charge? Well, Obama did that too. You recall that
Obama's charged for everything.
Yeah, we had to buy the bumper stickers, and yeah.
I got an Obama poster. It was the county fair up in Clallam County, and they had, this is a couple of years back when Obama was running for the first time in 2008, and they had an Obama booth there. And so I went in there, and they had and I wanted one of the posters. They had a poster, and they wanted to charge me like $5 for this thing. For Obama's campaign, which I'm thinking, I just set up my own shop there and started selling bumper stickers and stuff and pocket the money. Why should I?
Do you recall that at the time I had the condo in San Francisco, and the next door neighbor was an Obama bot, the first election?
I remember the Obama bot. Yeah.
And I would send her an email. You egged me on to do this. I would send her an email.
Right. I was trying to get you to go to bed with her.
Yeah. All I got was a fucking bumper sticker. Thanks.
Well, there was some word of the story. She left you a bunch of bumper stickers. I know that. And
the point was,
ain't ready for you're going to really.
Well, the point was she wanted to charge me for the bumper sticker. She said, I can give you one, but if you want more, you have to. And then she was going to the Shula, to the Obama boot camp.
Let's hold on a second. Stop, everybody.
Hold on a second. Stop the show. Show stop.
Hillary has collected, last time I looked, over $40 million. It's probably around $60 million now. $60 million. And what are they doing with this money if they're not buying bumper stickers to give away?
Yeah. It must be. I don't know. It must be. Well, they're keeping the money, obviously.
They're keeping the money. They're not going to spend
this is what
money.
The Clintons do.
Gives away his bumper stickers and he gives away his buttons.
Well, you know what that is. That's, where is it? Here it is.
We just need cash. I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
Just send your cash to the Clintons. It'll be fine.
Keep that thing closer.
Yeah.
That clip. So my daughter looks at this. She says, "This is what it says. Feel the burn. BRN." And she just gets all giddy.
Oh,
that guy's great.
Really?
And yeah. And my son. And in fact, this one, when you came back initially, when I told you about Bernie Sanders being a phenomenon, and you were coming back from Europe, and you were like, "What?" And that's bull crap.
Yeah.
The millennials love this guy. I mean, he comes out with the stuff that.
Well, they're going to do. He's saying, "I'll make your school free."
Free school and free this and free that, and it used to be free for me, so I don't see why it can't be free. But okay, I'm socialist, whatever. But they love this guy so much that they will. I think there's a reaction to Obama. The same millennials and young voters, just the slacker generation, the one that came, the X-gens, that voted in Obama because the college people and the young voters came out in droves in 2008 because they were suckered by the bull crap that Obama had to say. I'll close Gitmo, first thing ever. And that sort of thing. They came out.
You can take that to the bank.
now they've gotten to the point where they're so bummed out by this guy. He's a droner. He drones people left. He's a droner in more ways than one.
He's a droner, not a boner.
Now they've been revitalized because they've been out of the picture. They have not taken part in politics. And now they see this new guy coming along, another sucker's bet. Oh, Bernie's going to do what Obama said he was going to do. But this guy's, he seems more sincere, and he probably is. And so they're all jacked up. I think Bernie can take it. I think Bernie can take the whole thing.
Really?
Yes.
Well, just on the school thing, because I believe that's really where he caught a lot of fire with the millennials. There was a survey that was done, and 30% of respondents, and this would be, I presume, millennials or people just getting out of college, said that they would gladly sell one of their organs if it meant their student debt was wiped away. Now, if you're willing to do that, yeah, I think you vote for someone who says it'll be free.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think this guy's got legs, and
okay.
I still don't think Trump does, because we've said this because we have another man overboard.
Yeah.
One of our dames.
Yeah, the Baroness.
Who's irked at Adam for saying that he's, supports Trump, because she apparently gets physically nauseous when she sees him.
Now, that's got to be some deep, deep level programming, which is a part of the crazy images that you put in the newsletter.
The programming that goes on with the public at large regarding these candidates. And we have two examples. So we have Dame Maggie, who's the one that is irked about you and Trump. Yeah. And then this fellow, who I can't remember his name, that you just read, who's irked about, this is like me, my life as a columnist in tech news. Oh, you hate Apple. Yeah. You're a Microsoft stooge. You hate Microsoft. You're a Apple stooge. I mean, you can't win if you just are just critical of everything that you see out there, and you try to analyze without taking sides.
You know what the thing is, though? The thing that I believe Trump underestimates is you do this enough. Because first of all, he's like Hitler. KKK loves him. It's white separatist, racist. Kill the Jews, kill the Mexicans, and then you have these crazy pictures of him. I believe he underestimates how deep that programming can go. It really does work at a certain point.
It works. And they're using it all on him. And there was an interesting thing I heard on the radio. Actually, my daughter was with me when we listened to this, because she was kind of baffled by this. Michael Savage, who's not Michael Savage, but Levin.
Mark Levin.
Mark Levin, the great one. Mark Levin, the great one.
He's a
right-wing
Republican talk show
host. Best friends with Hannity. And he was on, and he's not a Trump supporter, but he said, and he played clip after clip after clip of people just giving Trump nothing but grief. I mean, Rick Perry calling him a moron, calling him a divisive demagogue who's a Hitler type guy, and he went on, and Jindal recently says he's got a squirrel on his head because Trump supposedly, we have no clips of this, by the way, saying that Carly Fiorina had a horse's face, and there's no clips of this. There's some kind of taken out of context quote.
Well, I have to agree, whether he said it or not. Fiorina's Botox head is unusable in a presidential situation. She can't communicate a single emotion. And as we know, when you can't communicate the emotion, you don't have the emotion. I mean, if she said, I'm really pissed off or I'm really horny, you would know the difference between it. The head, the eyebrows do not move.
No, she's a Botox to the max, and she can barely smile. Her smile is like, she's putting a lot of effort into getting that smile to come out, and it's still kind of dead from the upper lip up.
And it'll take about 3 months unless she likes it. She may like the look. I don't know.
Some people do, actually.
Ugh, it's horrible.
I guess it makes you feel dead. I have no idea. But so Trump says something like this, and then Jindal comes out, and all these other guys, instead of just ignoring it or saying, well, I'm not going to stoop to that level, they all stoop to that level.
Yeah, particularly the personal attacks about appearance.
Yeah, the personal attacks about appearance and the squirrel on his head. Is that his real hair? He's orange. He looks like a pumpkin. And they go, and anyway, so Mark Levin played dozens and dozens of these clips, and they go way back, and there's just nothing but this sort of criticism. And he says that the media everybody's just ganging up on him, and there's no way he can survive this long term. I mean, I think what he's done, though, and I think what's really being overlooked, and from my perspective, is what he's shown is that the entire Republican Party are all douchebags.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all douchebags. When Jindal came out and went on and on about his squirrel on his head, and Jindal who's not presentable himself because he doesn't have any, apparently has no assistants that know how to powder his face because he's all greasy. So it's just like one of these guys after another, they're all douchebags, and the entire party's douchebags. And that's why I think Bernie could actually come out, or if Elizabeth Warren joins the ranks, or even if Biden joins the ranks, I don't see how the Republicans can win using anybody, because they're not going to let Trump in. That is not going to happen. And people who worry about Trump are just not paying attention to the reality of the way things work.
Speaking of appearances, something just mind-blowing what I heard on MSNBC. Melissa Harris Perry, and she had on some former campaign manager for, Bill Bradley, I think, just a crazy old bird. And, when Sarah Palin was being ripped apart, I believe because she was a good-looking woman, and it was the most anti-feminist piece of history that I can remember in the United States. And granted, she's gone pretty nutty. But I defended her because it's not okay to attack, especially for feminists, to be attacking a woman about the way she looks. And then this comes along.
We, as women running for office, were repeatedly told.
This is about Hillary, obviously.
You better look strong. You better look more male-like in your ability to do the job. That being a woman was not an attribute that was going to take you into the presidency. I think that's changed in the last 8 years. I don't think it's...
Well, Sarah Palin was part of changing that. I mean, not because, again, this is that substance versus symbol piece. It's not like I am generally supportive of Sarah Palin's policies, but in terms of just being like, well, I'm just going to run this real differently in my high heels. She really did, and people responded to that like, oh, well, that looks...
authentic.
Yes. Even if it
that hell just froze over. They just said something nice about Sarah Palin.
That's a borderline clip of the day.
No, please, not
Come on,
for that.
Borderline clip of the day.
Really? Okay.
It's borderline.
Yeah, borderline. I know it's borderline. That's as close as I can get.
Borderline clip of the day.
Big news in Texas. Big news in Texas.
In the meantime, Rick Perry late today saying no longer in.
A campaign that lasted just 97 days. But look, he struggled from the beginning with polling and fundraising. Just last month, he ran out of money and stopped paying his campaign staff. That Republican field, David, now down to 16 people. Perry is the very first person in the race for 2016 to drop out so far.
Adios, mofo.
Of course, you already knew this. We already knew he had no money since he was flying Southwest with me.
So, play with you. He was broke.
He would have got a real problem. But he was still smiling all the way. Now, we have something else here in Texas.
He's probably a great guy to have a beer with.
I've always said I want to have...
really slammed Trump on his extra. Talk about a sore loser. He went out with a bang by just giving it to Trump as being the divisive a-hole that's made him have to quit, as though he had a chance.
I think you could have a good time with Perry, having a beer, swapping dresses. Yeah, you could have a good time.
Swapping dresses.
And after the...
Koch brothers!
We have a new duo, John. A new duo who are going to outspend the Koch brothers. And they are, of course, from Texas. Now, this is, to me, was an interesting report. It's a Reuters report. I don't know where they got this reporter. She is one of the worst I've ever seen. But the message is clear.
I'm Michelle Conlon with Reuters TV. And we're here outside of Cisco, Texas, standing in front of the home and compound of Farris Wilks. Now, Farris, together with his brother Dan and their wives, has sort of overnight become America's #1 political donor so far in the 2016 presidential race. The family members gave $15 million recently to Ted Cruz and are supporting him in his bid for the White House. Unlike other mega donors like the Koch brothers or George Soros, the Wilks brothers have kept a low profile. People in town describe them as a local rags-to-riches story. They grew up in a goat shed with 3 sisters and worked as bricklayers.
Goat shed?
With 3 sisters.
By the way, I always get the biggest kick out of always low profile. That's why we're doing a national news story on them.
There's something about growing up in a goat shed with 3 sisters that just, I don't know, visuals I did not need.
Yeah, I think it's a sub-clip.
In a goat shed with 3 sisters and worked as bricklayers.
Oh.
But in 2001, they got into the energy business, and at just the right time. Their firm served the booming fracking industry, and the brothers cashed out in 2011 for nearly $3.5 billion. But in this day and age, even the Wilks' $15 million may not be enough to make a dent. At least 2 other donors have given Cruz's super PAC a combined $21 million, and it's still early in an election, promising to set new records for campaign spending, including the Koch brothers' pledge to use their network of conservative donors to pour $1 billion into the race.
Yeah, and please let us all remember that President Obama certainly spent $1 billion in the last race. But at least,
and Adam, where does all that money go?
To Haiti.
No, it goes to media.
Of course it goes. It's all media. It's all commercial airtime.
I get the biggest kick out of these people that go on and on about campaign finance reform, and they never notice that they can't get traction because the media isn't going to give them any traction.
Of course not. They would take money right. You can go read Advertising Age, and they'll predict how much money is going to be spent. And this is the big bonanza. They live for this.
They won't. And the joke of it is, they won't, these a-hole candidates won't even give you a free button or a bumper sticker
for all that money.
Give it to the New York Times.
I was watching like the 3rd series of House of Cards. Just watched. I don't know. I dumped out of it and I went back in.
I haven't seen it yet at all.
Yeah, I don't like it that much. But I learned something. You know, the guy Doug who killed the prostitute, whatever. He tries to become a consultant for someone's campaign. And he says, I want $250,000 and 3 points of the media buy. Interesting, huh? So that's where these guys really make their money. They get points off of the media buy. And I'm just going to presume that's true.
I actually don't see why it wouldn't be true.
Yeah. So that's how Karl Rove makes his money.
I mean, that's how the agencies make their money. They get a certain percentage of the media buy.
15% standard.
15%,
right, for the buy. Yes.
So they get 2 or 3%.
So I wonder if
you're pushing it up to 20%, which it wouldn't surprise me because most agents and a lot of these other, all these different people that handle celebrities, they've jacked their prices way up.
In the meantime, and of course, that's why Donald Trump is continuously covered by the media, is because he's ratings. Ratings equals money. For the CNN debate this Wednesday, now the ad buy, I think the prices have gone up 40 times, 40.
Yeah, it would. Well, I don't know if it's 40, but I know it's high.
I thought it was 40 times.
And he talked about that he was on Fallon. So if Trump goes on Fallon, I'm on the networks thing for the moment.
3 networks, 3 weeks.
So he's on Fallon, and he puts up with a lot. Trump let Fallon dress up as Trump and pretend to be Trump in the mirror.
Always good. Self-deprecating humor. Always good.
Yeah, with Trump on the other side. So there's a mirror, and Jimmy Fallon's Trump playing Trump to Trump in the other side of the mirror, making it look like, and they have to copy each other's motions. It's very poorly done.
No, of course.
Because Trump was mugging, and he was like not, so they're talking to each other in kind of a quasi-interview style. And then he brings Trump out after that as a guest. So Trump really got a lot of
airtime. Yeah.
Like a ton.
And apparently he had the best ratings for the past 18 months.
That's what Trump predicted.
Yeah.
Trump said that on the show. He says, well, you're going to have the best ratings you've ever had on what's been a miserable show, he says. But there was absolutely, in terms of what I learned watching this, besides that Trump is,
nothing, I'm sure. Nothing.
Not a thing.
No.
Now I did, but on the other hand, I saw the Biden event.
I saw that. That was with Colbert.
And here's what's interesting about it. Still trying to figure out this show, because Colbert comes out, he prances around.
I think Colbert's still trying to figure out the show.
Yeah, I think so too. He just seems lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed this though. I have watched the snippets from every show so far, and what Colbert is really good at political humor. And he's really good when he said really too many times.
Yeah.
He's really good at talking to politicians and people that are serious. And unfortunately, for the entertainment value of the show,
it's not funny. It's not funny.
It's not only not funny, but and I try to realize what is he doing? I'm trying to figure out it because there's something that reminded me of something. And what it reminds me of, and you have to be my age or older to appreciate this, he is more Jack Paar than Johnny Carson by a lot. Jack Paar would always have, all he needs to do, Colbert would top things off if he could just get Hermione Gingold to come on the show.
Who is that?
That's a very obscure callback joke. Hermione Gingold, Paar was the guy who initiated the idea of having these regulars.
Well, he really invented the format, didn't he?
He kind of invented,
but more like the David Letterman format.
The modern format was invented by Steve Allen.
Okay.
Jack Paar had his own thing, and it was very serious. The humor was all pathos. It was kind of down. It was like depressing. And this guy would come out, and he'd have these regular guests who would then do their thing. And there was a number of them. Hermione Gingold, who I'd never heard of her since. He'd have Oscar Levant on all the time, the pianist, and he'd have all these regular people that would keep coming on. And it was always like it's a certain kind of this sincerity that Stephen Colbert went through when he was talking to Biden. I find it uncomfortable.
And he was really saying to Biden, like, thank you for your service and your personal tragedy. And it was
dead son. And I had a death and you had a death and what happens when you have a death and how do you handle it and all the rest of it. This is like advice, for people who are grieving, which is fine. But this is a comedy show. With Jack Paar, it was. We're all gonna die. It wasn't necessarily as depressing as Colbert, but Colbert is depressing.
Yeah, he's depressing. Well, Hillary, on the other hand, went on Ellen's show, and I have a little montage. Did you see the Ellen appearance?
I saw parts of it.
Okay, so good. I have a montage of all the best pieces of it, and
she danced. There was a moment on Wait, Don't Tell Me on PBS where Paula Poundstone comes on after somebody's bitching about Frank Oz, as a matter of fact, bitching about all these famous people going on these shows and dancing and like idiots. I mean, you look like a fool when you do this. And Paula Poundstone says, I don't understand why these people are coming on dancing. And these politicians come on these shows and they're dancing. He says, how is this moving the country forward? I don't know.
Did you see the Ellen set with Hillary?
No, I didn't. I just saw snippets of it.
Oh, yeah. It was a pyramid, man. Whole Illuminati thing going on there. Just one of these things. Yeah, just paying attention to the details.
I'll have to look at it on YouTube.
Here's the montage.
Let's just get this out of the way. Let's talk about the emails. Okay. What? Well, I want people to understand this, so I'm glad you asked. I used a personal email account. It was allowed by the State Department, but I should have used 2 different accounts. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry for all the confusion that has ensued. I take responsibility for that. I'm going to keep talking about it and answering questions. Well, I mean, I actually don't think you need to. It's just that people keep bringing it up. They have not found a thing. They keep saying they found something, but then we don't hear anything about it, so they haven't found anything. I personally believe that women are held to a different standard than men. We are held to a different standard for...
Yeah, isn't that great?
Tell that to Petraeus.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're held to a soft standard.
Thank you. Well, you took the punchline, but that's exactly true. General David Petraeus did it pretty much exactly the same on a private email, and he shared it with...
even do that much.
Yeah. But anyway, he was convicted. He didn't have to go to jail, but he certainly went through the whole court system, and now it's like, different standard. Well, yeah, I'll say.
I personally believe that women are held to a different standard than men. We are held to a different standard for our weight, for our age, for our looks, for everything. And which is not fair because you are the smartest, most qualified person for this job. I want someone who is
uniquely qualified for this job.
Qualified. And I feel like when you're talking about, if I look at all the other candidates, someone who is for rights across the board, equal rights for women, equal rights for every ethnicity, equal rights for everyone, it is the only person I can look at is you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Well,
I want to say I am not a political person. I don't like politics. I don't understand politics. What I am is a human being who wants everyone to have equal rights. I want everyone to want a common goal of a better country and to not piss off any more countries. I want us all to be loved. The happiness agenda. I want happiness and I want peace.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Hillary is solely responsible for all the pissed off people in the past 6-7 years. Come on.
That's pathetic.
Yeah, it's Ellen lost. No respect. I just have no respect for her now.
Well, why we shouldn't be listening to workaday comics, giving us political advice.
Well, that's what it seems to be. I mean, the millennials of our generation love Jon Stewart with his analysis of the news, slanted, funny.
Actually, it was mostly the Gen Xers.
Okay. And of course, Chelsea Clinton has some pretty damning emails. We talked about that to some extent on 755. And we need to make some, we can't have people talking about Chelsea's email to mom and dad. So MTV jumped in.
As you probably could have guessed by this moment, I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
Do you think there's any chance he's actually going to follow through with this?
Well, you'd have to ask him that. But I definitely think, who runs for office is really important. And even if him just saying that helps spark a little boy or a little girl who was watching the VMAs to think, oh, wow, maybe I should do that. Oh. That's awesome.
That's
on
awesome.
the chance that he does run, would you support him?
I think it depends on who he would be running against.
Okay, that is fair.
All right. Stupid.
The subclip those laughs.
Yeah. I got a lot of subclipping to do.
Just a second suggestion.
All right, now we have Iran. Unless you want to stay on the candidate.
Do I have anything that relates to any of this bull crap?
I don't have anything else. I do have Iran.
I do have a entremet.
An entremet, which would be something Chef has prepared for us to bring you from one dish to the next.
Tim Cook defines iPad.
A simple, multi-touch piece of glass that instantly transforms into virtually anything that you want it to be.
Hail Apple.
Hail Apple.
Hail Apple.
It apparently turns into a sex toy.
That's what you want it to be?
If that's what you want it to be.
I want to thank one of our producers. I said that I probably would have to get the iPhone 6S because it can run iOS 9 3D Touch, whatever, so I can manage my email. And I was turned on to this app, which I want to say I think is an outstanding product. It's called Triage. And I'd like to see more of these or even a better one. What it does, it's not an email application, but it just talks to your email account and it brings up any new messages. And just like a Tinder app, you can flick it up to delete or archive, flick it down if you want to keep it as unread and get back to it later, and it won't show up in this app. So it truly is Triage, and I've been using it for the past 2 days. It's fantastic. It's really, really. I don't know if it exists for Android.
Not that I know. Oh, maybe. I don't know. But I don't even know what you said.
Okay. So my problem with email, which is that it's so many different moves. If I have to go in, look at what the email says. If I want to deal with it later, I have to mark it as unread, go back. There's all these. If you hit delete, then it goes to the next one. It's about managing, about keeping things unread, so I know that I have to go back to them. And with this peek and poke thing that they have on the new with the 3D Touch, that would make it easier for me, and that could save me 25, 30 minutes a day easily. This Triage app, all it does is let you do exactly that, and it's just one action. Boom, up or down, done. Does that make any sense?
No.
Okay. It's a great app, Triage.
I can tell you this from the sounds that I listened to the clip, to do one more clip then.
Okay.
I thought this was very logical. This is the adding transit to maps on Apple Watch. This is I have a thought on this. After you play this clip, I'll tell you what it is.
We're adding transit to maps, making it easier to find and use public transportation.
If you're buying this crap from Apple, you're going to need to take a lot of public transportation because you won't have a car.
In the morning.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
So they know their market.
Yeah. Iran. So what's his face? Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer came out and said, I don't want any part of this. This is no good. And he, of course, is breaking with the president, breaking with the Democrats. And there's this conversation about this, which I love to bits because it brings out every conspiracy theory. And it's, of course, this is about Schumer being a Jew and does Israel control Congress? And it was a kind of a nice tete-a-tete back and forth between Joe Scarborough from the Morning Joe's program there, along with Mika, the elitist daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski. And I just thought it was nice and refreshing to hear this conversation.
You people kowtow to the Jew. Right. It's always been the dog whistle from the left that if you can, that you can't, if you're Chuck Schumer, sincerely be concerned about the safety of and the future existence of Israel.
Yeah.
That's always been the dog whistle. Oh, you're just listening to the Jewish lobby. Why don't you just say international bankers? Why don't you guys just talk about international bankers and, the protocols of Zion? It's sick.
Don't you love that?
Yes.
The protocols of Zion. It's been a while since I've heard that pulled out on mainstream media.
And it's repulsive and it's a smear and it continues. And the President of the United States only makes it worse by saying that you have to be ignorant or else in bed with Iranian radicals if you oppose my bill. Or the Jewish lobby has paid you off, and you're scared of these powerful Jews lurking behind crevices in international banks.
I love how he just said this is bullshit, but you got to think
it's sickening.
It's sickening,
and it's bigotry, and it should be called out. Who dares suggest that Chuck Schumer is doing this?
Oh my God. Okay, that's like the fourth time. We get the point.
No, you don't. No, you don't get the point. You're the last person on the face of the earth that appears to get the point.
Are you kidding me? Go to the rally. Why didn't you go to the rally yesterday?
Because every time somebody
comes, there are lots of reasonable people there making a lot of sense. Okay, and it's not like the Republican Party has been reasonable every step of the way as this deal was being put together.
I haven't said they were.
In fact, they've been horrific. In fact, they've been worse.
And you all are saying, oh, well, let's just do it because Barack Obama likes it.
No, let's scrap it because Ted Cruz hates it. And Glenn Beck.
So does Chuck Schumer.
So does Chuck Schumer and a lot of other people. You're turning into a cartoon character before
Chuck
our very
Schumer
eyes?
Did what he had to do, and it's perfect.
See, there you go. There's the cynicism I talked about. Chuck Schumer could never
there on the Republican side.
Schumer could never, ever believe in his heart, according to you, that actually Israel faces an existential threat from Iran, and this only makes it worse.
Chuck Schumer is not holding rallies begging everybody to go along with him.
Just said
quietly
Chuck
went against
Schumer
it.
had to do what he had to do. Why did Chuck Schumer have to do what he had to do? What, because he's a Jew?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of Jews in New York? Why can't you just say Chuck Schumer did what he believed was right?
I'm on her side.
Yeah, me too.
And it's because there's a lot of Jews in New York who votes him in.
And Morning Joe dude says, "Oh, that's crazy. You're a bigot."
The Jewish public in Israel appears to be for this deal.
In general, yes.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know what.
Why? I wish I could finally understand. Why is Israel so important to America? Why?
I don't. What?
Why is Israel so important to America, particularly in our politics? Why?
Because we're the ones that they're our home base for that area.
Yeah, then why aren't we flying sorties out of Israel instead of Jordan and Qatar?
Too obvious, so we try to sucker somebody else into letting us fly sorties.
Okay.
I don't know. That's my take on it. Those are our guys. That's our little spot. That's our place. We can go there. Yeah. Intel can put a research company there, and we don't have to worry about it. It's fantastic.
Okay. All right. Then I have one more clip. This one I thought was...
By the way, I would want to say, I don't watch the Morning Joe show ever, but these clips make me want to watch it.
It is. Sometimes it's really entertaining. They have some crazy people on, and they say funny things. And I'm becoming quite a fan of Mika.
Yeah, she's great. She's getting her oats.
Yeah. Whatever. Representative Bill Johnson of Ohio, Republican. He had he did something. He, of course, is against the Iranian deal, and by the way. Mm-hmm.
And I said, by the way,
that's okay.
You have to be suspicious when you see these sorts of things like this Iranian deal split right along party lines. You're telling me that with all the complexities of these treaties, of this treaty in particular, all the complexities, there's no one Republican that sees any benefit in this thing? Not one lone guy?
Well, Trump does.
Crap.
Trump does. He said he's
against it.
No, not true. Trump says it's a shitty deal, but I'll make the deal and I'll get our hostages back before I'm even inaugurated. That's Trump's position.
Trump's position, it was a crappy deal. Yes, he said it was poorly done, but now it's signed. No, Trump is probably for it, but he won't come out and actually say it's probably a good thing that we're.
No, we played the clip on the last show. He said it's a shitty deal, but he implies by saying, I'll have the hostages back, renegotiate this deal before I'm president. So he implies that he's for it.
If he was asked, if you were in, this is a question, this is theoretical, but I'll bet you, if he was asked, if you're in Congress right now and you had to vote yes or no on this deal, would you vote no with the Republicans or yes with the Democrats? And he'd say no. Yeah, I'd vote
But he's going to be president, so he doesn't have to vote in Congress.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think the point I'm trying to make is that every single, without exception, Republican from Ted Cruz on are all against this thing. That makes no sense.
Okay. Now,
lone guy, you'd think.
Now we have a Republican from Ohio, and he tried to do a little bit, and this was long, like 6 minutes. I got it down to 2. I cut out all the bull crap stuff, but I thought it was very interesting. As you know, I'm from the future. Apparently, so is Representative Bill Johnson from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, because speeches made here on the House floor are preserved for history, I want to speak to the future. To present a plausible scenario and an apology. An apology to be heard by the survivors. An apology to every victim of what will forever be known as the Iranian nuclear attack.
Yo.
I expect it'll be after the year 2030 before anyone takes any real notice of this apology. Someone will find it while surfing what remains of the internet.
By the way, that's my favorite, 2030.
Maybe in Israel, Western Europe, or here in the United States. Someone surrounded by the smoking ruins of leveled buildings. The incinerated corpses of those lucky enough to have been killed in the first seconds of the blast. And the wails of anguish of those left to die and mourn. So to the people of 2030, on behalf of America, I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry we failed to stop President Obama from releasing $150 billion to fuel the destructive fantasies of terrorist leaders in Iran. That lit the fuse. I'm also sad to say that the people hearing my message in 2030 will bear witness to the fact that Iranian missiles can indeed deliver nuclear holocaust to America's soil. So to our countrymen of 2030 and to our friends in Israel, whose land now lies fallow and wrecked, let me now say we were wrong. We struggle to imagine what you must be going through. The death and destruction that once haunted your nightmares now plays out before you. Families and friends are either dead or lined up at makeshift morgues to claim the bodies of loved ones. Food and water are scarce or contaminated with radiation. Refugees from the blast area stagger down gridlocked highways where traffic stopped when the detonation occurred. How did the leaders of 2015 let this happen? The answer is simple and sad. Because despite our best efforts, we couldn't stop the deal that funded, armed, and unleashed nuclear hell from the madmen of Iran. We allowed the power and persistence of the foolish to deliver a corrupt contract with a nation of terror. And in 2030, the day of reckoning arrived. And for that, I'm truly very, very sorry. May God have mercy on us all.
We're all gonna die! Is this guy nuts?
He's from the future.
Where's he from again?
Ohio. He's from the future.
Hey, Ohio!
Yes, Ohio. Vote that guy out.
Vote that guy out. He's a moron.
Isn't that fantastic, though?
Who does he think he's impressing with this nonsense?
Well, he wants to be on the record.
Wants to be on the record. Yeah, he's on the record of idiots. Yeah. Somebody will dig that out. He's right. They'll dig it up around 2040 and they say, hey, check this out what this guy said.
Look at this douche.
Meanwhile, the mullahs will be in Iran driving around big black Cadillacs because that's what they really want anyway. Those guys are living the life. You know, there was a thing down on 60 Minutes.
They have golden toilets.
About the great mullahs. They're living it up in these mansions. This actually pisses off the public. These guys don't want to get bombed out. They're not in some. You listen to these right-wing talk show guys that think that these guys are insane and they want to blow up the world so they can become, have their 72 virgins. They're not the dumb fucks that go in there and blow themselves up. Jeez.
Let's see. Shifting gears for a second. There was a big, they did something new in New York, a podcast upfront. Did you hear about this?
Rings a bell, but I don't know what
So what the television networks do is they have an upfront and they show all their hot news series that are coming and advertisers can buy in early. So I think Westwood One, who have Podcast One, they set up an upfront and it's called...
They're still doing that?
Well, they did it for the podcast. I don't think they've ever done it for podcasting.
No, they're still doing the Podcast One is there?
Oh, yeah. And they had a survey, State of American Podcasting. And this is why I despise the advertising model. Well, it's one of the reasons. But they have, in this study says, podcast listeners' median age is 30, which we know to be bull crap. Just look at our show. I mean, it's all over the map. It spans the gamut.
If there's any median anything, I would suggest that it's there are an inordinate number in terms of percentage of Mac users.
Certainly iPhone users. That we can see.
That's what I mean. Same thing.
So now listen, you podcast listener. Here's who you are according to the commercial industry. You're employed, educated, and have more kids in the household compared to the total U.S. sample. In fact, 61% of podcast listeners work part or full time. 55% have some college education. Half of total time spent listening to podcasts occurs on mobile phones, followed by 1/3 on computers. Now, here's the thing that I don't understand why they're saying this. The breakdown of listening as follows. 29% listen from 7 p.m. to midnight, 29% from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and 20% from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., and only 17% from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Our traditional view of prime time and radio is drive time or morning and afternoon. What's really interesting, according to the Westwood One, is that night is prime time for podcast listeners. Most listening is done at home. I don't believe that. I think that's patently wrong. I think it's commuters, people who are on the move, who have longer commutes. They're the ones listening.
I think commuters do play a major role in podcast listening, not just our show, but I think most of them, especially the guys who know how to actually load the podcasts up.
Well, there's that, yeah.
When they're streaming over the air podcast, listening where you can push a button on your car thing and you get a podcast. I think that'll change.
Yeah, well,
but that's years away.
Maybe not.
Well,
I'm just saying. Anyway, everyone.
It takes people forever to adopt any new technology. Just the first adopters, they're all in, and then the thing takes forever to take off.
So the good news is, we didn't have to sell you, listeners, producers, as we call you. We didn't have to sell you out. We didn't have to go and lie about who you are or make you sound like you're some piece of meat. And we don't have to, look at this. We had a whole bunch of Jew talk. Do you think that would have happened on the Podcast One, John? Do you think that would have been okay?
No, they'd be fired.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Start off by thanking a few people, including Jennifer Loveberg in San Marcos, California, came with $133.33, but I do have to read their note. She says, a cousin of my good friend just won a national contest for best squirrel recipe.
Nah.
If interested, you could look up Dorothy Hall and see her award-winning squirrel recipes.
Excellent.
Okay. She also wants, can you find this someday for maybe the end of the show, the sheep and pigs clothes? Oh, that's our regular thing. Yeah.
I get that.
Mike Beierbacht in Hoofddorp. Hoofddorp.
Close enough.
In the Netherlands, $101.
Mm-hmm. What are you laughing about?
I didn't just. Oh, the next guy never noticed this. Long Johnson. In White Court. This is the D's Nuts guy. Come on, you can't fool me.
Long Johnson.
Long Johnson. Anyone coming in from White Court, Alberta, I realize is D's Nuts. But now he's Long Johnson. Okay. I'm assuming this is a male. $100 White Court. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Just don't Ray J. Sir Skits in Phoenix, Arizona, $100.
Didn't we have an email from Sir Skits? There was something we had to do.
This just says here, I be Sir Skits. Pedro Villafane. He's, I don't know why I can't pronounce his name. He's in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, $100. So we have $300 donors. That's great. Carlos Sanchez, 7777 in Chicago, Illinois. Sir Brian, the Green of Hams, 7373. Peter Tangney in Randolph, Massachusetts.
Did Sir Brian Green of Ham send a check or a note because it's gray?
Send a check.
Okay, all right.
Sends a check.
All right.
He did put his call letters in there, which I put in there as a note, but Eric apparently didn't feel like writing it there.
Well, 7-3 from Kilo Fox 5, Sugar Lima, November.
Ditto.
You're going to get
Peter Tangney in Randolph, Massachusetts. That's 6666. Vale Peely in Boulder, Colorado.
I think he has a pronunciation guide for us.
$59.99.
Vali Packnell Peely
requesting a 31st birthday shout out. We got him on the list. Challenge. I don't see anything here.
My name is pronounced Vali Packnell Peely. I'm half Samoan, half American.
Oh.
Requesting a 31st birthday shout out. Yep, we'll do that.
Peely. Vali Peely. Sean Regalado in Saranac Lake, New York, 5510. Edward Hartwich in Bergenshoek. There's no Bergen. I don't see a Bergen.
Bergsenhoek. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Bergsenhoek. Pretty good.
My last donation was just way too long. While donating is fun, especially when John is trying to say Bergsenhoek. Thanks for the hours of entertainment. Okay. Whatever works. James Moore in San Pablo, California, 5280. Let me take a look over the. See. Mud flats are wet today.
This is Mile High Club.
And this is Mile High Club.
Is the website up? The Mile High website?
I finally got the database. Tim I'm gonna.
It's a database-driven website, really? Did you employ some skip logic in that, John?
Skip logic and we're not talking COBOL.
Okay.
Tim Connor in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, 5280. Another Mile High Club. Craig, and we might as well reintroduce the Mile High Club for show 767, which is next week. That's to celebrate one of the most popular jets ever made, the 767 from Boeing Corporation in Seattle, Washington. Actually, they're out of Chicago now. Craig Friesick in Loveland, Colorado. I'm interested to hear how John pronounces my last name, Friesick. It's pronounced Friesick.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, Friesick. I can remember that. And now these are $50 donors. We dropped off rather quickly on today's show. It's still that. So what happens, we normally get a bunch of checks in the mail. A few piles of them, 50 checks. Most of them are $5 or some $3.
Highly appreciated.
But there's a lot of checks, and some of them are bigger and some of them are smaller. But there's always a batch. 2.
Huh.
That's because everybody took the week off. The banks took the week off. The post office took the week off.
Oh, nothing moved. Yeah, of course. You're going to have an influx, hopefully.
Brandon Savoy, parts unknown, $50.
Always there. Brandon is such a huge supporter. Always supporting us.
Sir Brandon. Sir Mike Westerfield, $50. Sir Dame Patricia Worthington in Miami, Florida, $50. Derek Neese in Alpharetta, Georgia, $50. Jakub Wojciak in North Vancouver, BC. Jason Brockman in Hamilton, Ohio. Richard Gardner, parts unknown, $50. Jason Daluzio, one of the checks that came in from Chadsford, Pennsylvania. Actually, that check came in the week before, so that isn't one of the two checks, and that's all we got.
Oh.
Yeah, it ends.
Okay. Well, I'm always, and I think you did allude to this, I'm always happy to see the subscriptions coming in. People are on monthly subscriptions, weekly, sometimes even by show. These are 33, 11, 12. Just consider what you're spending on different. Was it Jason Calacanis was doing an analysis of the cost of the iPhone layaway plan or whatever that Apple has now, where you spend X amount per month and you can always upgrade to the newest iPhone?
Yeah, $32 a month. You can always have a new iPhone.
Oh, there you go. Which turns out is less than having a latte at Starbucks every day. Now, there's some choices you can make in life. Do you need the new iPhone? Are you tech horny? Hail Apple? Or do you want to support the best podcast in the universe?
We had a note from somebody giving us a suggestion. I'm going to go see if I can find it, or I'll do it in the next show, where the guy complains about these people who just listen and never contribute because they don't care, and they can't make the mental jump. They don't have the acuity to say to themselves, there's no advertising on this show. Someone's got to support the show.
Right.
And they're asking me to support it directly. Well, I always consume the show, but I'm not going to support it. What's the point?
Yeah.
And like the other guy said, the student said, it feels good to support the show. You're part of the family.
Yes. Community. Family, community.
It's a community.
Kind of the same thing. It is. And we have such a community of talented people. And I think you learn something.
Be part of it. Don't just be a passive observer.
Yeah, and we're going to have some cool meetups coming up. Actually, I'm leaving on Friday, John. Friday. It's all of a sudden the tour is here. I'm going to go.
You leaving on a jet plane?
No, I'm leaving on the Airstream.
Huh.
Yeah. Still looking for a different name than the Flying Burrito. This thing is sticking.
The Flying Burrito I like, but I can understand your reluctance.
Well, it's not very sexy.
Yeah. Who says? Are you a racist?
Even though it was Tina the Keeper who came up with it. Maybe there's an agenda there.
Well, the Flying Burrito would be great, but you could come up with something else. How about changing it every once in a while? That way you can be incognito.
Can we have this person removed, please?
Bomb them. Keep bombing them.
That guy's good. I like his pipes.
You're in my house.
The reverse crusade.
That's good.
I love laundry.
A couple of make goods that we missed for Sir Daniel of the High Desert. He wanted a douchebag call out to Chris Frone, who hit him in the mouth almost 10 years ago and is still not a knight. I don't know if he's a donor, but apparently not a knight. And Scott Littler, please karma for my daughter Elizabeth, my friend Natalie, and for all the TPGs everywhere. I'm not quite sure what the TPGs are. I don't know. There's a little asterisk, but I don't know what it is.
Well, let me look it up.
TPGs. Okay, so we have, I'm going to give a little de-douching that was requested earlier and some Jobs karma. We'll get into our birthdays. Here's a de-douching.
You've been de-douched. Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
It's your birthday, yeah.
What happened there?
It's your birthday, yeah.
Hey. This is really strange. Somehow they switched places. Now you know how I do it. I have a bed and I have an ender. For some reason, they switched places on the board. Here we go.
It's your birthday.
That was weird.
Oh, no,
okay. Hey, Bali Pili celebrates on the 14th. Nicaragua says happy birthday to her husband, Stephen, also celebrating on the 14th. And Stephen Yarish turns 43 today. Happy birthday from the best podcast in the universe right here, The No Agenda Show. It's your birthday, yeah. See, now you know how I do it. Okay, we have one knighting to do. I've bought my sword. Are you still looking for that thing? Or you got your sword? Are you around?
I got the sword.
Okay, good. There we go. All right, Stephen Yarish, come on up. Very happy to pronounce-icate thee a knight of the No Agenda Roundtable with the dames and the knights. And here we go. Your official name will be Sir Mike of Wakefield. For you, my friend, we have the ever-present Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Black Hose and MD 2020, Progressive Rock and Russian Imperial Stout, Malted Barley and Hops, Root Beer and Legos, Porn Stars and Pot, Cannabis and Cabernet, Librarians and Jaeger Bombs, Opium and Warm Orange Juice, Bong Hits and Bourbon, Sparkling Cider and Escorts, and, of course, Mutton and Mead. And you should head on over to noagendanation.com/rings. I like that you put the ring pictures in the newsletter, John. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's nice. We always retweet them if you have a picture. Just take a picture of your ring and your certificate when it comes in and tweet that. We're very happy to retweet, I would say. Okay, now
we generally do that.
Now let me hold on a second. Let me see if I can find this.
TPG means test pattern generator. It actually means a bunch of things, but there's nothing interesting in the list.
I'm sure that's exactly what he meant.
Attention all human resources. No entering. Second half of show.
Second half of show, John. I have done some production work for y'all.
Okay.
Now, this September, actually starting today, the 13th, very, very special month. We have a lot of interesting things happening. The next 6 months are supposed to be astrologically important. We have a partial eclipse, lunar eclipse, then we have a full lunar eclipse at the end of the month. And I've just been inundated with facts, all from YouTube, of course. This is actually, I'm surprised you didn't send me these clips. This is what you always send me. And I wound up watching hours of stuff about how we are all going to die in the month of September. And the dates.
It's a good month to die.
It's a great month to die. September 23rd appears to be a very, very important date. So I pulled out a couple of experts on the topic from YouTube. What will be happening on September 23rd?
This is a down and dirty. This is the asteroid kill zone. We've all been hearing about the asteroid strike that Department of Homeland Security and Pastor Lindsey Williams have leaked to us. It's supposed to hit on the 23rd or the 24th of September, followed by the Pope speaking in New York at the United Nations, telling us to accept the chip because the world has been destroyed.
Yay!
This is all pre-planned. We could stop it. We have the SR-71. I worked with a man who was the chief engineer on this, and in 1970, when we developed it, it flew around the moon. We could go out there. It was originally developed to carry 4 nuclear cruise missiles. This can go out there and destroy that asteroid. If they wanted to destroy it, they would. It's not going to be an asteroid. It's going to be a nuke. And how many other nukes have we stopped? Like the 25th of May, the one in D.C., 2 blocks from the White House.
So this guy's pretty good. He says, it'll be the asteroid kill zone. It'll appear to be an asteroid. The Pope will be in New York to say, we must accept our new future, the new normal. But he says it's going to be a false flag.
Didn't he say that we're all going to be chipped?
Yes, of course we'll all be chipped. Yeah, so we know this is coming. Thank you.
Who is this maniac?
I don't know. It's in the show notes. Now, we have evangelist Robert Breaker with his own take.
But for the last year, maybe a little longer, a lot of people all over the internet, all over churches, all over the world have been talking about this one day in history, September 23rd, 2015. And they have all sorts of theories about what's going to happen on that day. But for some reason, they all talk about September of 2015 and all the things. You can actually go to the internet now. I think the last time I saw there was an article about 33 things that will happen in September of 2015. And many people are saying this is the end of days. This is the end. This is the time when the rapture will take place and this time of Jacob's trouble will happen. Is that going to happen? Maybe the calendar's wrong a year or two, and maybe it's on down the line.
Yeah, sure.
But as a Christian myself, I do believe that Jesus is coming, and something big is coming to this world. Something's going to happen that will change everything. I come across people all the time that aren't even Christians, and they say, I just feel it in my being that something big's about to happen, and it's scary, and I don't know what it is.
Okay. So we don't know what it is, but there's something happened. Could be wrong. The calendar could be wrong. However, CERN, this is the Big Hadron Collider.
By the way, I'm just from a technical perspective with these study religion, religious guys and preachers and
end of days
evangelicals. Does this pitch that this guy has about the world coming to an end on the 23rd or whatever, does this get them more donations?
I don't know.
I would think not.
No. Or maybe people just...
You're not going to get any money.
Just give you everything because it won't matter. You know, just give me all your money. It won't matter. Now, there is another theory out there. All these rabbit holes I went down for you last night with alcohol and marijuana.
You need lots of both.
CERN will be conducting a new experiment. Mm-hmm. This is the Large Hadron Collider.
Right. This is going to create the black hole.
The dark matter. And we have proof that CERN knows something's going to happen. This is Dr. Tara Shears speaking at a TEDx forum recently. Actually, I think it was in 2014.
Anyone can speak at TEDx, by the way.
Yeah. And she slipped up.
Particles that are associated with new physics, new phenomena, particles that are predicted by a theory that takes our existing understanding and deepens it, and perhaps answers some of our other open questions. What is dark matter, for instance? And although we haven't seen any evidence of what it might be yet, 2015 may provide the answer.
You see, she says it's going to happen in 2015, but then she catches herself and says it may provide the answer.
She says 2016.
15. No, she says 15.
Play it again.
Ugh. Okay. She said 2015. Well, roll it back a little for you.
Questions. What is dark matter, for instance? And although we haven't seen any evidence of what it might be yet, 2015 may provide the answer.
Aha. Okay. She knows something we don't know.
Okay, so she made a small flub, and you've extrapolated from that. Fine, go on. Okay. Continue with this thesis.
Well,
I think dark matter is one thing, but an asteroid hitting the West Coast, which I believe they've already planned for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they say the asteroid's going to hit, but I think they did a dry run, because I have a clip.
Are you interjecting in my theories?
Yes.
Let's go.
I have a clip. The clip is Google Maps.
Okay.
A glitch in Google Maps drastically changed the look of the Southern California coastline today. Users saw streets and highways underwater. In Malibu, you can see the Pacific Coast Highway waterlogged. The Mountain View company says it wasn't a political statement about rising sea levels. Google says there was a technical problem with its mapping system, and it is now fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oops. We copied that into the archive a little too early. Yeah, no, you're right.
All right, continue with
the elites clearly know, and we all know that this goes back to...
The elites always know.
They always know. This goes back to Sir Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton puts the first 7 in the future after the second rebuilding of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was reclaimed by Israel during the 6 Days War in June of 1967. Recall that in the 70 weeks paradigm, the 7 is 7 weeks of years, which is 7 times 7 or 49 years.
I love that.
T.W. Tram explains a remarkable concurrence. Quote, June 7th, 1967 falls in the Hebrew year 5727. Adding 49 prophetic years to this date, we arrive in the Hebrew year 5776, which is 2015 on the Gregorian calendar. Interestingly, if one counts exactly 49 360-day prophetic years, or 17,640 days, from the June 7th, 1967 date of Jerusalem's recapture, we arrive at September 23rd, 2015, the Day of Atonement.
Yes!
Coincidence?
Coincidence?
This is like a magic act.
It's not over.
Number 3 on this piece of paper.
Oh, it's going to get better. Wait for this. This is my Now, we played this clip, and we didn't do the math. I wish I had. This is when the French foreign minister was doing a little stand-up session with Carrie Watermelon Head about the climate chaos.
From when the French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius and Secretary of State John Kerry made this vague announcement.
We have 500 days to avoid the climate chaos.
It will be September 23rd. The events leading up to, on, and nearly following the date of September 23rd, 2015 are numerous. We are simply taking a look at what is being said. A comet or an asteroid is said to be approaching Earth that will hit the coast of Venezuela and Brazil and create an extinction-level event. Of course, NASA is denying.
What?
And a flood on the West Coast.
Yeah. But why would they tell us anything? They're funded by our government. The update and the ramping up of the 666 logoed CERN Large Hadron Collider and the possible universe-destroying opening of other dimensions within our own dimension or access to a gate that has been closed.
Yeah, the Stargate will be opening. But I like that the French Foreign Minister, on the day he said that, if you count 500 days later, it's September 23rd.
Nice.
That's a good one. Now, final one. And this, I think...
We have a show on the 24th. Should we cancel it?
Take off, man. Who gives a crap? And I'll be in the Airstream floating from the...
Well, you'll be... If you're in the Rockies, you're in good shape.
I'll be okay. Have you ever heard of the Shemitah 7-year cycle?
No.
You're a cycle guy. I can't believe it.
I'm a cycle guy.
So disappointed. Well, Jeff Berwick. Do you remember this guy, Jeff Berwick?
I do, and the name rings a bell.
He is the dollar vigilante. He is the guy that has made a career out of selling financial analysis because he invested wisely in the dot-com bubble, and he also predicted Bitcoin would be the way to go. And he's back now selling new research, but he talks about the Shemitah 7-year cycle, which is a real thing.
The Shemitah is the Sabbath year, and it's the 7th year of the 7-year agricultural cycle mandated by the Torah for the land of Israel, and it's still observed in contemporary Judaism. To put it simply, every 7 years is a Shemitah year. Because it is based on the Hebrew calendar, it doesn't follow on the same dates every year as our Western calendar, but it does follow quite closely. The Shemitah is also known as a time where all debts are settled, every 7 years. It also can be interpreted as the washing away of things.
Yeah, like the West Coast.
But what caught my attention was that the last day of the Shemitah for the last 2 Shemitahs in 2001 and 2008 fell on days with a major market collapse. The last day of Shemitah in 2001 fell on September 17th, and that was the first day the U.S. stock markets opened after 9/11. That day had the greatest one-day stock market point crash in U.S. history up to that time. The Dow fell almost 700 points, or 7%, and it was a record that held for precisely 7 years until the end of the next Shemitah year. That year was 2008. On September 29th, 2008, the exact final day of the Shemitah, the Dow plummeted 777 points. You may be noticing quite a few sevens in all of this. As well, on that day, it was the only known day on the New York Stock Exchange where the opening bell wouldn't ring.
You're watching CNBC's Squawk on the Street, where the opening bell should have rung 5 seconds ago, but has not.
There is a little bit of a consternation down here about there being no bell.
I then decided to go back to Shemitah years since 1900.
Now, John, you are a cycle expert. I'm surprised you have not heard of the Shemitah 7-year cycle.
Now, I should mention that the 700-point drop is not the most or the most percentage-wise or anything in between.
Right.
We just had a 1,000-point drop the other day.
Yeah. Well, this was probably created before that. I could go on, but
I think Black Monday or Friday, whatever it was in 1987, was a bigger drop than that. But anyway, go on.
Well, so I could go on. He has lots of proof of this Shemitah, and he says it will be.
He's got the thing down.
It will be September.
There's a lot of these cycles, by the way.
September 15th, he says, when the Shemitah year ends and it all starts. So it's this coming week. This is a great time to be alive.
On the 6-week cycle, that's dynamite.
Now entering second half of show.
No, leaving second half of show. There you go. All right. For people who complain we don't have any second half of show, I've given you the facts. Do your own research. And remember, buy some seeds.
Seeds.
You
might need them.
And this, what's interesting is a chat room like, these guys are talking about this, but they won't talk about Zionism. Yeah, man, the Jews rule it all, man. That's right.
Righty. Okay, so let's make another break to discuss something else.
Okay. Another break of what?
Let's see. Another entremont.
Oh, an entremont. Okay, what you got?
Well, there's the town named clip, which I think is good. I also have a shortened clip. Have you heard of this town in Wales? This is a big story, big network story. This is on NBC Network News. Long Welsh town name story.
Okay, I've not heard of this.
And the tongue twister that's gone viral, a weatherman from the UK's Channel 4 whose forecast includes a tiny town with a name long enough to break a teleprompter. At 58 letters, it is the supercalifragilis of town names. And yet Liam Dutton rattles it off flawlessly.
But in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from Llanfair Pwllgwyn, Gallgo Gerech Windrobwll, Llantysilio Gogogoch, the temperature got to 21 Celsius.
I know that went by quickly. The name of the town once again was... No, I'm not going to do that. When we come back.
Oh, what a pussy.
Yeah, well, he couldn't do it.
What a pussy. I have
a shortened clip, but I wanted you to play it at the end of the show so you can just have the town name. It's a very nice little town.
I see shortened clip. Okay, hold on, let me put that in the right bin. I have an entremont.
All right.
This is something that now we know we played on, I think, 2 shows ago. Vaping. Kids are vaping, and it's all about drugs, and it's drug paraphernalia. We have to outlaw it. You can't have vapes. You can't do this.
We get a lot of emails from vapors.
Yeah, and this
bitching about the fact that we don't know what we're talking about.
I know a little bit now. I'm vaping. I've done some research. This story, though, was very, very anti-vape. So I'm going to say this is, what happened to the kid is probably not planted. I think I know exactly what happened to him. But the way it's being spun is not honest. Surprise, surprise. But it is obviously probably big tobacco or somebody who just wants to get rid of all vaping because, kids aren't on the cancer sticks anymore.
James Loria is hoping what happened to him a few weeks ago acts as a warning to others. The 23-year-old grew up in Cobb County and now lives in Destin. That's where the unthinkable happened on July 29th. While on break at work, he did what he's done hundreds of times before. He went out for a smoke with his e-cigarette. This e-cigarette, which is now being held as evidence at the South Walton Fire District, the agency that responded to the call. James's injuries were so severe he was flown to the University of Alabama's burn unit, where he spent more than a week in the ICU. James's parents tell Fox 5 they couldn't believe the injuries their son suffered were from an e-cigarette blowing up in his face. Injuries that include burns to his hand, a fractured finger, a fractured neck, and burns to his cornea.
Force of the explosion blew a hole through his palate and at the same time flamed down burns, first-degree burns on his chest and up on his face. It forced his front tooth up into his gum out of sight and chipped the other one and damaged a few other lower teeth.
And so, with the long road of recovery still ahead, this family wants to warn others.
If us getting the word out prevents this from happening to even one person, I'd say that we've done a good thing, and I almost feel like it's a responsibility at this point.
All right. So, first of all,
the worst story ever.
Yeah, this is not an e-cigarette. This is not. They show a picture of the blowed up device. What this kid was doing, and you've made note of this, he was using a mechanical mod. Now, mechanical mod is not one of your typical vape devices. It's a completely basic. That's why they call it mechanical. It has a lithium-ion battery in a tube, and it basically short circuits it and it's sub-ohming. So he was at 0.5 ohm. So this thing burns real hot. But what can happen is, and in fact, I found the story about what really happened to him. The wire dropped down onto the battery pins because there's no safety in this. It looks really cool, and it's what modders do because you get a big amount of vape out of it. But then when he let go of the button, the battery shorted, and then everything's so hot, it blew up in his face. And a lithium-ion battery, when that blows, you're going to blow up your face. And that's what happened.
Smoking off of a bomb.
Yeah. So mechanical mods are not for the... But, no mention of it. They just call it an e-cigarette. Total propaganda.
That's hardly an e-cigarette.
Total propaganda.
That's a total propaganda piece.
Yeah. No,
that's the clip of the day.
Wow. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I think it is because it's important. The lies.
It's in fact, I'd even removed my clip of the day clip, so I didn't think I was going to get anything. I know. Here I go.
Clip of the day.
Thank you.
Well, I have a couple of things. Now, I got an entremont.
Hey, you can't have entremont between entremonts. I mean,
I guess you could. Why not?
Over entremontanizing.
The stove burned out, and they got to keep serving you these little meals. New show coming out. I think it's on CBS. It could be on NBC. I got to look it up. But here's the corniest trailer or promotion for a new show. The show's called Quantico, and it's going to extol the virtues of the FBI.
Oh, of course.
And you have to listen to this ad because I always wondered how the FBI hired, thinking maybe I can go to work for the FBI, but I don't think so.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies.
The FBI only recruits the best minds, the best bodies, all protecting our nation's best secrets. But not even the best could prevent this from happening. Priyanka Chopra stars. Quantico premieres Sunday, September 27th on ABC.
Wow, that will never air. We'll all be dead.
Chaka Kubra stars, and they recruit the best bodies. They got some buff guy walking around. I never noticed the FBI guys are all a bunch of buffed, like gay models. But that's what they said. And they also recruit the best minds, the best bodies, so they can keep track of the best secrets. Because I didn't know this, but there's best secrets.
Hot bodies. I can't wait for this one. That'll be good. The television event of the fall of 2015, ladies and gentlemen.
ABC that figures.
To the gate, to the gate, to the climate gate.
I was surprised to see a CNN piece about the 97% of all scientists number.
Oh.
And
they broke it down accurately the way you did.
Pretty good, actually. I mean, they gloss over things, but yeah.
Today's question comes from Mark in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's on the 97% scientific consensus on climate change. Listen.
Hello, CNN. I'm Mark from Raleigh, North Carolina. Could somebody please explain to me this 97% of climate scientists statistic that I keep hearing about? Does that exclude non-climate scientists? Is it reasonable to say that, of course, when someone dedicates their career to climate science, that they would have a bias?
Well, for the answer to that question, we turn to meteorologist Chad Myers.
Hey, Chad. Hollow, that's the first time I actually heard the question in its entirety, so that is an excellent question. The answer to his middle question, does that exclude other scientists? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you take all the scientists together and ask them questions, PhDs or master or higher, we get something around 80%. But that includes anthropologists and volcanologists. So if you just take a look at climate scientists and the climate scientists that write papers, that's how you get to 97%. That was 2009. But I even have a more recent example of 97. And I guess the question here, Hala, if I tell you there's a 97% chance of rain.
Okay. So he kind of went past it. He said, well, it was really only 97% of a percentage of the scientists that were valid who wrote papers about it and really mentioned anything at all. So that's good. But what he does immediately is he goes into the 97% number to give you the facts, but then use those facts to program you into a certain type of thinking.
If I tell you there's a 97% chance of rain, are you going to take an umbrella? Your answer is yes.
And I live in London, so I take an umbrella no matter what.
And if I ask you, I tell you there's a 90% chance of rain, are you going to take an umbrella? Yes, you would still. So, I don't really want to start splitting hairs here, 96, 97, 95. The big important number here is how did we get to something like this? How did we get above 90%? How did we get above 95% consensus when it comes to climate scientists? So here, we're going to back you up to 2013, Australia. A scientist, John Cook, went up there and said, I'm going to look at 12,000 studies and see what those studies say. Well, about 2/3 didn't say anything, didn't come to a conclusion. 1/3 did come to some conclusion, and 97% of that 1/3 said man is more than likely the cause of global warming.
So that's pretty much what we said. It's a small
thing. This was couched.
Yeah, of course. And he goes back
in a very awkward way that was confusing.
Well, of course it's confusing. It's not meant to be understandable.
I am not happy with this.
I know you're not. Well, let's finish it off because he goes back and does it again.
So only 3% had another view, and then the other 66% took no view whatsoever. They were just talking about something in the climate. So that's how we got to this number, a very important number, but I don't want to focus on 97. Just believe me that this is not 50-50. We are way above this. Even here, we're talking about that Earth scientist, his question that he asked on the video there. 82% of all Earth scientists say yes, but 97.4% of climate scientists say yes. So you take out all the noise, you take out everything else.
Yeah, that's how science is done. Take out all the noise.
And 97% of the 1/3.
Yes, exactly.
He doesn't say that the second time around.
No, of course not.
Oh, this stinks.
But if you hear 80% chance of rain, don't you want an umbrella?
No.
Don't you want an umbrella? Come on. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. We know you do.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's play something then that this is kind of annoying.
Unlike that.
Well, that's very annoying.
Yeah.
Play the. This is I'm watching 3 networks.
When do the 3 weeks end? Aren't you near?
It ends, I think, next week, like Wednesday of next week. It ends on the 15th, I think, or the 16th. Whenever it ends. I'm going to keep doing it for a while, because I still haven't got a couple of things I need to understand. But they leave complete stories out of all the networks. And the one they're leaving out now, besides the Guatemala story and the Venezuela story, they leave all South American news. But that's not new. South America, forget it. We're not going to get any news about that. It's the relentless bombing of the Yemenis is one of the worst atrocities ever. And nobody's even mentioning it on the network news. I pick it, and even the BBC doesn't really talk about it. I got it from Newsnight.
Well, of course, it's from our friends, the Saudis. So that's why we can't make the Saudi Arabians look bad.
So I just want to play a clip so we get people up to speed with that. This is what's going on is an ongoing, I believe it's an ongoing war crime. And the clip is the one the Saudis did something or other.
The campaign is led by Saudi Arabia and backed by the West. On Sanaa's main shopping street, a missile has gone straight through the roof of a residential block. 3 people were killed here, including a mother and a young daughter. No neighborhood is safe.
I hear screaming, too much screaming. If you can see here, around here, all the building is full of families. Yeah. There is not empty, it's full of families.
Towards the Saudi border, the bombing is even more intense. We've heard reports of deliberate attacks on civilians, attacks that could amount to war crimes. Ahmed El-Baina, 13 years old, worked at a water bottling plant. 10 days ago, he had dinner as usual with his parents and his brother Mohammed. Then the 2 brothers set off for the night shift.
Can you tell me what happened?
We meet the manager. The factory was hit by an airstrike, he tells me.
خلاص روح كل ما في ولا شيء لا عوادم ولا مصنع كامل يعني ما ذنب العمال يعني العمال حصلناهم يعني في المكاين.
He's lying.
خلاص لاصق في المكان ما في. And these ones are injured. The owner showed us a list of who was working that night. More than half were killed, 13 in total, including Ahmed and his brother. The Saudis say this was a weapons factory and a training camp for African mercenaries. We saw absolutely no evidence of that.
Yeah, it's an atrocity. It is.
It was a bottling plant. You could see it. You could see all the bottles. And it just blew the crap out of it, and ha. Yeah, no, it's an atrocity. It's ongoing atrocity, and it's like nobody's no.
Oh, yeah.
Let's even discuss it.
Well, all that proves is that the news media is compromised, and they won't discuss it.
Shh! Don't talk about this.
There was something that came up at a symposium, I think, British Science Festival on Thursday. Jill Stewart, who's an expert in space policy at the London School of Economics, takes issue with the plaque. You know, the plaque that when we send something into space, like the Pioneer 10.
Yes, this is a great story.
Yeah, I wish I had a clip, but the story is
no clip yet.
No, there's no clip. So this is, this is kind of the universal symbol that explains who we are, where we are. You got a man with a dude and a lady, and here's what she said: the plaque shows a man raising his hand in a very manly fashion, while a woman stands behind him, appearing all meek and submissive. We really need to...
Two-dimensional plaque, but okay. Yeah. She's somehow behind him.
We really need to rethink that with any messages we are sending now. Attitudes have changed so much in the just 40 years. She feels that we need to send something more representative of our LGBTQIAAP community and society. Which I guess...
He wants more diversity. The headline, which is in The Guardian, is that send aliens, like there's aliens out there, send aliens modern messages of Earth's equality and diversity.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
We're bombing the shit out of Yemen and killing just innocent people, and then we have all these people, all these little girls and boys wandering to tracks heading to Europe, and they care about this? This is their priority?
Oh, yeah. Well, Facebook is doing something for the world. They are now testing a temporary profile picture changer for supporting causes. So now your icon changing efforts will be seamless. And you'll just go to...
People haven't been on board ever since Hillary left and her band of vagabonds, the tech experts. There hasn't been any more of these movements, so now they decide to just make it auto. So you just click
a button. Yeah, you get your little rainbow and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Auto. Boop, boop. You support this? Boop. Auto.
Now, if you were to
Why would you have to go through any more work than that?
Yeah, and that's moral self-licensing. Oh, I've done some work. I changed my icon. All is good. I think one of the first read books from this show spoke about monitoring of automobile behavior and how that would eventually become mandatory, or you just wouldn't be able to get insurance.
Yes.
How long are we talking?
It's one of my pet peeves about the licensing process in California.
Allstate was just awarded a patent for monitoring your driving habits. And I have 3 little clips here. The first one is telling you what is bad about this and about the patent in particular.
What would more on what these patents would allow Allstate to do?
Well, what's so interesting about these patents, it's really just a few things. First of all, they got one in June that envisions selling this driving data to other companies like banks, marketers, health insurance companies. They think this data could be useful for other companies, so that's one element of it. A second element of it, they're not just interested in how you drive. Now they're talking about
how fast you go,
whether you brake a lot, what time of day you drive, your mileage. That's typically the kinds of things they've been interested in. Now they're also talking about gathering physiological data, like having sensors on steering wheels that could tell things about your heart rate. And lastly, the third really interesting part that they just got a patent for, it would be watching other drivers as well as stuff not related to driving in the car, like how many passengers are there? Are there kids? Are you eating? Are you talking on the phone? And how are people around you driving? Are there pedestrians?
Oh, there you go. Now let's listen to the counterpoint, a guy who's all in and thinks it's great.
Companies gather this data. There's a couple of good reasons. They want to be able to offer a competitive product. And one of the things they can do is anything they can find out that would help get you the right price, so actuarially base the risk so that you're not paying for the risk of somebody else and how they drive, is good information. Anything that would improve the safety, because if you've got 3 or 4 kids in the car, perhaps they're creating a distraction, and that may be something that causes you to take your eyes off the focus of the driving process.
I'm sure that's never happened to a parent.
Of course not. Not any of us. Anyway, so there are reasons to do that, and then what you try and do is figure out, are there behaviors that you can change by collecting some of this data? What we've learned over the years is some of the data that's been collected from people as they drive and when they drive and how fast they drive. It's actually been used to improve the driver's safety. People have actually changed their driving habits because they get discounts if they actually drive better and safer. And then it's also a thing with the car manufacturers as they try and put more and more of this crash avoidance technology in their vehicles.
Sounds like something good to me, John. I don't see how that could be a problem.
Winner.
let's end up with the final bit. Of course, once again, we bring out what Comey always likes to do.
Didn't the Allstate CEO say something about or suggest or imply that selling this data might be a possibility?
Oh, yeah. They said that a few months ago. He was at a conference, and he says it's sort of the same thing that Google does.
Oh.
So he floated this a few months ago where he said, we might envision selling this driving data someday. And then in June, they had received this patent that sort of lays out the potential of selling this driving data to different industries.
Such as?
Such as health insurance companies, banks, marketing companies. Their reasoning is, well, maybe if somebody's an aggressive driver, they're going to be aggressive about how they handle their money.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, don't give them a loan.
No.
Because they're obviously driving too fast. Oh, and by the way, let's send the data over to the state Department of Motor Vehicles, and I'm sure there's a few tickets in there because you have the GPS data and you know how fast they were going. Yeah. So you know where they were, and they're driving on a 40-mile-an-hour area, and they're doing 65. Let's send them a ticket to 25 over. That's good for a couple of $100, maybe more. And the insurance companies, all insurance companies need this information.
Yeah. And as you know, this was predicted in the Protocols of Zion.
Was it?
I don't know. It's a version of the chip. It's a version of the 666 chip. It's a version of it.
It is kind of a version.
It's a version of it. And now, was it AT&T? They have a car Wi-Fi hotspot, which you plug directly into your ODBC connector. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Oh. All right.
Well, I've got one last thing.
Yeah, do that and let's get out because I'm tired from breaking it all down today.
Oh,
we make it look easy.
This is from CBS, and this is a story that as soon as they did the story, I said, "Oh, okay, now most of it's making sense." So there's always these ISIS guys now, which we think they're clearing the way for some future building that's going to go on from Bechtel
for a mall,
and so they're tearing down a lot of old crap.
Mm-hmm.
That is old Roman ruins and all these things. Oh my God, they're tearing down the Roman ruins. Oh, they're looting. They're smashing the icons.
That is exactly the right voice.
They're going on about how.
Hold on. Stop. So first of all, a lot of these artifacts we've seen them. They were just plaster of Paris and was not real statues they were breaking. I have yet to. I've seen some satellite photos that show. Which can be. They're so fuzzy anyways. Like, was it yesterday? And here, I have not actually seen proof that I'm going to say I'm convinced. And why?
Well, that's because there is no proof.
Oh.
Because what they're really doing, this is bull crap. This is the image of, we're going to tear down all these icons because we're horrible Muslims and we don't think these things are, these things are an abomination. So let me hit it with an axe or let me hit it with a sledgehammer. They're tearing this stuff down to make way for other stuff. They're not wrecking anything like that they're hitting with the sledgehammer. They're hitting it with the sledgehammer because they can't sell it. Play clip on Syrian artifacts.
Off their hands. What's your reaction when you see a beautiful mosaic like this that's been looted from a precious site like Abu
Well, obviously sadness, because these eventually will be bought by someone and they'll be lost to us forever.
The main beneficiary is ISIS, which makes tens of millions of dollars on the thriving black market. The group issues permits to looters and takes a cut of the profits.
For every antiquity they destroy on camera, thousands line their coffers through the illegal trade in antiquities.
Colonel Matthew Bogdanos led the investigation into the looting of the Iraq National Museum in 2003. Now he prosecutes antiquities cases as an assistant district attorney. So who is buying these antiquities? Who is giving them the money?
It is a cozy cabal of academics, art historians, dealers, gallery owners, auction houses, museums, and private collectors.
So some of these antiquities are ending up here in the U.S.?
Certainly. Absolutely.
CBS News has learned that there are multiple ongoing investigations into ISIS-looted antiquities that have ended up in the U.S. But, Jim, these cases are very difficult to prove simply because it's so easy to forge documents about where these objects come from and how much they're worth.
Clarissa Ward with more intrepid reporting. Thank you.
Intrepid reporting.
So these guys are not busting up the place. They're busting up the phony stuff. They're taking what they can, selling it. They had these huge mosaics. They managed to get a mosaic in one piece out, which is what they were supposedly buying with this undercover investigation. These ISIS guys, which are our guys, are not stupid.
No. Which are our guys.
You get $1 million for some of these pieces.
They're our guys.
They're our guys.
I love that. They're our guys, damn it. You know that. Come on, everyone knows that.
So that story is bogus.
It's bogus. Yeah, I agree. Well, we're all going to die.
Well, that's on the 23rd. We got some time.
Yeah, well,
on the 15th, maybe. That's 2 days from now.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be in the Rockies. This is all good. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, there won't be the mud flats. There's actually water on the mud flats today. Must be high tide.
Please think of us with your donations for our show on Thursday. We will be bringing that to you once again. Dvorak.org/NA. And coming to you from capital of the Drone Star State here in the Crackpot Condo in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, overlooking the mud flats, which are now populated with water because it's high tide, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Thursday right here on No Agenda.
And boom shakalaka, brother!
Shut up already. It's science.
Just up the road from Llanfair to Pwllgwyngyll, go get a Quindrobos, Llantysilio, go, go, go.
And her head is gone.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA